Morning, morning, morning. Pauline Buckmeyer, good morning. Alberta Sampath, morning to you. Morning, morning. Claire Irish, morning. Joy Ragunanan, good morning to you. Rena Jennings, Angela Cathy, morning. Freddie Williams, Donna Walcott, Ria Ed, morning, morning. Annette Neptune, Ruben Rogers, Hill she's at morning. Julia Spooner, morning to you. Arlene Lewis, Jenny Joseph, Diane Charles, morning, Diane. Morning, Carol. Angela Marcel Figaro, good morning. Angela, Davy Manuel, Jennifer Ferron, morning. George Altman, morning to you too. Yvonne Blake, morning. Maynard Lazare, morning, morning, morning. Anne-Marie Billy, morning to you. Shah, good morning. Margaret Thomas, Sefton, Slita. Lucille Charles, Ford, morning. Lisa Atwater, good morning to you. Right, so we're trying to get here. All right, I'm just responding to some UNC supporters on the Facebook page here. Wow. Never a dull moment, but never a dull moment. Anyway, it's not what I'm looking for. Let me get this. Right. That's not what I'm looking for. Where is it? Anyway, You know what? I don't really need that now. Yes, so good morning, all. It is now 6:36. And as always, thank you so much for joining us, Brian Deming, Gillian Jackson, Pamela Moses. Good morning to all of you guys. Kathy Gale and McNeil Belfort. Morning, Loni Rodney. Good morning. All right. Proper. It's last week. I was really looking for the video clip with Mrs. Prasad Bisasa. Anyway, we played that last week. So we'll just get straight into it one time. So we saw so many things to talk about. I know I wouldn't be able to discuss all of it. And yet again, unfortunately, I will not be able to get back to, well, at least not today anyway, to interrogating the UNC's manifesto, because stuff always happening every day that we need to touch on. So we see that with respect to the price of flour, and I kind of keep coming back to this. Now, not only Nutrimix, but NFM, and I saw Sheikh Lisa, I think is the name of the company, that the principals of these three companies have indicated that they are dropping the price of flour by some 10 to 13%, right? And Nutrimix had indicated that they would have been doing it immediately as of, I think, the 3rd. And NFM has indicated they will be doing it within the coming days, and Sheikh Lisa said they will be doing so as well. And for the past few days, I've been battling some UNC supporters on the page. They've been engaging us. And as usual, Rowley's a liar and all them kind of thing. But your leader, and I will keep pounding this, just over a week ago on the Monday Night Forum, told the population Rowley increased the price of flour by 33%. You could believe that, man? No, we can't believe it because it was a lie. And how spectacularly has that lie been exposed, right? That 1 week later, because last week there's nothing, no newspaper article, no statement, nothing from any of the companies last week indicating that they increased the price of flour by 33%. What we have this week is a number of newspaper articles, statements put out by the companies indicating that the price of flour is to come down by between 10 to 13%. They wouldn't, and now when you put in this to some of these UNC supporters, they wouldn't call out their leader for what she is. That you could lie about something so simple. And why did you tell that lie? Because you're running out of stuff to encourage your supporters and your membership to vote against the PNM. I mean, you would think with all the things that they've been saying, the economy on the brink and all of these different things, that you have sufficient. So why you had to go down that road to lie? Because you want to paint Dr. Rowley and the PNM as being wicked and uncaring. And the basic food items, look, they increased the price of flour by 33%, and the cost of this going to go up, and the cost of that going to go up. So that people will say, nah, boy, they really don't care about us. Basic things. Now the price of doubles going to go up, and this and that. All of these things she mentioned, bacon chart, and all of that. And you have been shown to be a liar. That never happened. That was a year ago. 1 year later, the price has come down. You think she will apologize? I wonder if whoever it is gave her that information, if heads rolled. If she called them and cussed them out and asked them what it is you're trying to do. You all didn't do your research. Or if it is she did that on her own, you see, because people send her stuff. And rather than do proper research, you just run with it. Hey, well, I'm going to put that in my speaking notes. Say, they increased the price of flour by 33%. Show me a liar and I'll show you a thief. If it was Dr. Rowley had done something like that, oh gosh, the Doug Liar. Well, now you wouldn't hear the end of that on Doug Liar politics. The underground report, you would not have heard the end of that. Even on the Monday night report, they would have talked about that and they waste their time Sunday morning press conference where the media not even bothering to come anymore. They're just taking sound bites off of the internet feed. So they have to plant their own reporters now. So they bring in pretend journalists, people from within their own ranks, who not even enter journalism, giving them prepared questions and telling them, yeah, talk that. Yeah, talk that. ask these questions, waste that time. But he had no time with them. But they still come with that foolishness. Ah, boy. Never a dull moment, eh? Never a dull moment. But as I said, they would never call out their leader. But that's okay. We don't expect anything different from them. I see Mr. Griffith is on the warpath in terms of sharing out pre-action protocol letters. The latest of which, I see he's sent out a pre-action protocol letter to the Guardian based on an article that he published since January. Yeah, since January. Let me see if I get it here. Read there, right? So he sends one to the Prime Minister, and yes, let me get this here. Proposed legal action by Mr. Gary Griffith for Trinidad and Tobago Guardian newspaper article of January 31st, 2022 headline, Stanley John stands by report on firearms users licenses. I write with reference to the matter caption. I instruct Mr. Larry Lala, Senior Counsel, and we act on behalf of Mr. Gary Griffith, the proposed claimant or our client. And this letter, before action, is sent to you in accordance with the pre-action protocol of the Civil Proceedings Rules of 1998. This letter is sent to you in response to the defamatory, unfounded, and highly irresponsible statements of and concerning our client and the performance of his functions as the then Commissioner of Police. Since January, we're in July. The article didn't bother you in January. It didn't bother you in February, March, April, May, June. You wake up one morning in July and realize, hey, I am offended by this article. Let me send a pre-action protocol letter. You see how these people are nonsense? For 6 months, it didn't bother you. For 6 months, the content, you had no issue with it. For 6 months, you're saying all kind of thing about Stanley John and this and that. All of a sudden, you wake up one morning, oh my gosh, I am offended today. Let me send a pre-action protocol letter. It was just like when Mrs. Passad-Bissessar in the issue on that whole matter involving her and Camille Robinson Regis, when Mrs. Regis made the statement, simply called her middle name Kamla Sushila Passad-Bissessar. Right? We all remember that statement in which Mrs. Passad-Bissessar's response was to the effect that where you get your name from? Your name is the slave master. Slave master gave you that name, right? For 9 days, Mrs. Passad-Bissessar wasn't offended. Yeah? Between the time Mrs. Regis said that and the time that Mrs. Passad-Bissessar spoke about it, it was 9 days. Nobody in the UNC was offended by that for the whole 9 days. In that 9 days, they had Monday Night Forum. They had the Sunday morning waste of time press conference. They had the Wednesday waste of time press conference. All of these different press conferences. Nobody talked about it. It wasn't an issue. It was only 9 days later when Mrs. Passad-Bissessar spoke about it on a platform that all of a sudden everybody in the UNC is offended. Yes, Camille racist, how she could say that? For 9 days it wasn't racist. All your nonsense. Foolishness. Yeah, but that is typical. Right? No, they're trying to fool. Well, they get vexed after 9 days. The same thing here now. 6 months. The article hasn't offended you. For 6 months it was out there. Why didn't you treat with it since February? Because it was at the end of January. So that something could be done. It is out there now for everybody has read the contents. People have digested it. And all of that. All right. But you're vexed. But you say you don't know what is in the report. But you want to sue the man. The report is about me. Have you seen the report? No, I haven't seen it. So how do you know it's about you? I'm a clairvoyant. I have a crystal ball. I just know. Ah, boy. You also suing Dr. Rowley, I think. Yes, let me make sure I get this here. Right, this one. Yes, dear Prime Minister, proposed legal action by Mr. Gary Griffith against Dr. the Honorable Keith Christopher Rowley for defamatory statements of and concerning Mr. Griffith, made at a public meeting and published or caused to be published by the said Prime Minister on the social media platform YouTube or on or about June 29. This letter is sent to you in response to the defamatory, unfounded, and highly irresponsible attack on my client, Mr. Gary Griffith, made by you, Dr. the Honorable Keith Christopher Rowley. So he's suing the Prime Minister too. But he says that Dr. Rowley is living rent-free, or he is living rent-free in Dr. Rowley said. Since Dr. Rowley spoke at that meeting, was it 2 Thursdays ago? Last week, last week. Yeah. You heard Dr. Rowley say anything else about Mr. Griffith? No. I say what I had to say and I done. Seeds have been planted. So since last week, Thursday, Dr. Rowley living rent-free in his head. He can't get over it. Yeah? You sit down stewing in your fat. What I could do. You put out about 5 or 6 different posts on your Facebook page, and that is not enough. You ain't get no response, no attention. You decide you want to send a pre-action protocol letter now. Well, bring it on. It wouldn't be the first pre-action protocol letter that Dr. Rowley has gotten, and it will not be the last, I'm sure. Yeah, and his lawyers will treat with that. Now, there's a couple things I wanted to touch on. Right? Should I play that first, boy? No, before I get there, let me get this. So, we've been having a lot of supporters of the UNC joining the page, following the page, debunking UNC lies with facts. And it seems that it's getting under their skin for whatever reason, right? So, but typical, most of the comments that they're making is Rowley, mother so-and-so, Hushole, mother so-and-so. That's the only thing in their vocabulary, right? But you have one or two of them who will try and engage. And I keep saying to them, if you all have an issue with anything that is said on this page, please feel free to challenge it. But challenge it with facts now. Yeah, don't just come with conjecture and propaganda, talking points that you all get from Douglaya Politics, the Underground Report, and the Monday Night Forum. Miss us with it. Please. Okay? So there was one by the name of Dawish. Is that his name, boy? Dawish Miraj yesterday. He was on a roll. Let me see if I get this thing. So he and I had a little exchange, and he wanted to tell me about under Kamla, things were better. Between 2010 to 2015, things were better under Mrs. Prasad Bisesa. That people had it easier with the basic food items. I'm trying to find the post here. His comment. Let me see. I should have screenshot it. Yes, I think this is it. Yeah. So he says here, Ole is a set of liars. I wonder who teach Ole. And don't forget Balize, Goslin, Bamsi, Lickin, failure page. Okay. 8 years Ole failure in government and only running wet. Bamsi issues. No one wants to hear Ole. Lying thieves, set of lick. Right. And he kept going on like that. So this is the comment that really got me. He says, people got eased up on basic things when Kamla was there. I sure all your belly was full, not making noise since 2015, and all your tongue was red, not brown like now with ingratitude. And gratitude has a price. And he says things got eased up on the basic items. All right, let me deal with that. I've read this article before, but apparently Dawish didn't get it. So I sent it to him. And after that, I didn't see no further response. But let me deal with it, right? Because this is one of the things that the leadership of the UNC often touts to say that things were better between 2010 to 2015. And the things that they did, and Mrs. Prasad Bisesa did, in order to bring relief to the poor, because everything for them is about the poor in this country. They have no middle class, they have no rich people. There's only the poor. Only poor people in this country and the government. Yeah? So there's the government, there's them, and then the poor. And they are the de facto defenders of poor people. So they want no property tax because poor people can afford to pay property tax. But they'll be able to afford to buy a gun if Kamala comes back into power, right? She's going to relax the laws to make it easier for the law-abiding citizen to be able to purchase a gun. So they have money, they can't afford to buy a laptop for their children to go to school for about $2,000 because you have laptops that cheap, $2,000. And I'm sure that is still more expensive than the trash that they gave out to the school children that they beat in the chest about. We gave out over 98,000 laptops, as the case may be. And they could go in PriceSmart, they have laptops from $2,000 go up. They can't afford $2,000 to buy a laptop, but they'll be able to find $6,000, $7,000, $10,000 to buy a gun. That is UNC logic. That making sense. Yeah, they clap that. Mm-hmm. So they love to boast about that. Among the two things they boast about, we took VAT off of 7,000 food items. Up to now, I wasn't aware there are 7,000 basic food items, right? And when this administration came in 2015, and the government sought to reduce VAT by 12.5%, and they would have reinstituted VAT on certain food items, the Minister of Finance was careful to announce and to let people know that the food items on which VAT was put back on would have been what they considered to be luxury food items, right? Things that the average citizen does not buy. Right? Well, the average citizen not buying caviar and them kind of thing, maraschino cherries and macadamia nuts and all these different things that when you go to places like some of these high-end groceries where you're paying $100 and $150 and all these expensive things, right? The basic food items, the government never put back VAT on those. And if you don't believe me, it's simple. I always say, don't take my word for it. I quote sources. Go on Google, type in VAT-free items Trinidad or non-VAT items Trinidad and Tobago, and you will see the schedule come up from since 2016. Since 2016, and you will see the entire list of basic food items which the People's Partnership would have taken VAT off of, which this administration did not put VAT back on, and they added additional things to the list as well. So again, I repeat, it was the things that are not considered basic food items that VAT was put back on at 12.5%. But they wouldn't tell you that. Ask them to give you a list of the 7,000 food items. They can't do that. Yeah? But I want to read this article, which is one of the things I'm touching on. This is a Guardian article dated the 1st of June, 2013. And it's entitled, VAT on Food Flops. Consumers still feel the pinch. 400 in revenue down the drain. This is a Guardian article, right? I didn't write this. By Shaliza Hassan Ali. I've given you all of the finer points. 7 months after government slashed value-added tax, VAT, on 7,000 food items, President of the Supermarkets Association of TNT, Vernon Prasad, has admitted that the benefits consumers enjoyed from this initiative have since been eroded. Right? Eroded. Coordinator of the network of NGOs, the late Hazel Brown, feels the move was just a fallacy decision made without thinking it through, except for the political impact on it. And this is Hazel Brown, who was with them at one time, right? Minister of Trade, Industry and Investment, Vasant Bharat, whose ministry was responsible for the removal of VAT on the items, said if it were true that prices had increased, a lot of hard work and money would have gone down the drain. Bharat admitted that the matter was now a worrying concern. VAT was removed by the People's Partnership government on November 15, 2012, in an effort to lower food prices and curb food price inflation. So it means between 2010 to 2015, food prices were high. Contrary to what the supporters of the UNC want to tell you now, that is because of that Rowley taking this country down the drain, right? And the country in a mess, high food prices, all of them, the same talking points. High food prices, high crime, the roads bad, record unemployment. That's what they're telling you. Yeah? But here it is. This article from 2013, the 1st of June, is telling us VAT was removed by the People's Partnership government on November 15, 2012 in an effort to lower food prices and curb food price inflation. Will you hear that? So the price of food was going up. It was high in 2012. There was high food price inflation in 2012, just as we are seeing today. But based on the statistics that I will quote for you shortly, the inflation rate between 2010 to 2015 was a hell of a lot higher then than it is today and has been for the last 8 years. At no point in time in the last 8 years under Keith Rowley as Prime Minister has the inflation rate ever reached the level that it was under Kamla Persad-Bissessar for her entire 5 years. So when you all want to come and talk about, record food prices, no. That was in 2010 to 2015. Right? The rate of inflation last 8 years has been lower than it ever was under Kamla Persad-Bissessar. But I continue. This move resulted in government foregoing $400 million in revenue. On Tuesday, Prasad said the Supermarkets Association had observed increases on a number of non-VAT items over the past few months. Among them are snacks, curry, baby items, sugar, peas, beans, dairy products, and juices, many of which we import. Prasad said, so there are 1,200 supermarkets in TNT, and he blamed the increases on suppliers. A lot of the benefits of the VAT removal have been eroded. 7 months. 7 months. Prasad said many factors influence food price volatility, including world population growth, supply and demand, natural disasters, high oil and gas prices, wheat prices. Prasad said consumers were almost back to square one and were now digging deeper in their pockets while some have been buying less. This is 2013. This is not 2023. This article I'm reading here. Let me give you that again. Prasad said consumers were almost back to square one. So the removal of VAT on 7,000 food items that they love to boast of, in 7 months, we were back to square one. There was no real benefit. And over the course of that 7 months, they were still digging out your eye. Yeah? So when they want to both things that's better under Kamala and basic food items, Darwish, yeah? 7 months or less. In the space of 7 months, it was eroded. And this is the head of the Supermarkets Association is telling you here, in 2013, consumers are almost back to square one, and we are now digging deeper, and they are now digging deeper in their pockets, while some have been buying less. If you walk down the lanes of every supermarket, the prices have changed. In a lot of categories, we've seen movements already, and we have seen food prices move up since January. So in November, they removed VAT on 7,000 food items. 2 months later, January, prices started going back up. Darwish? Yeah, I hope you read the article, but just in case you didn't read it now, because I don't know. I assumed you have the capacity to read. I will read it for you. Yeah? Because some people, you need to narrate things to them. The Supermarkets Association has written to the government seeking its intervention on the matter. How are consumers coping with the growing increases? Prasad said, I can tell you, it is tough. The Supermarkets Association has advised supermarket owners that memos from suppliers outlining new price increases be displayed on shelves to guard against abuse and complaints by customers. So they take in front, they say, see, when people come in the grocery and they see the price going up and it's higher than what it was before they remove the VAT and they want to cost we, you better put up that notice there from the suppliers, right? Because we don't want nobody mashing up a set of stuff in the grocery and pelleting cans and all kind of, we don't want that, right? So they took in front. Bharat, increase in food prices worrying. This is Vasant Bharat. On Wednesday, Bharat said once VAT was removed from food items, the Prices Council was supposed to monitor prices and inform consumers of price differentials. What it appears in the interim, it seems that wholesalers and importers have increased the prices that they were charging previously. I don't know whether in fact their prices have gone up or whether they are utilizing a sort of vacuum to put up their prices. Bharat said this information could have been provided by the council, who need to do more work. I think they need to be given more teeth to do their work. He admitted that the council had no legal teeth to take supermarkets to court, but could only use persuasion to inform consumers that supermarket A sells far more than supermarket B. Insisting that TNT operates in a free market state, Bharat said that there was little that could be done. We operate in a small environment controlled by a few players. Therein lies the problem. I think there needs to be some legislative measure in place to ensure that if supermarkets are caught making higher margins than they ought to, then there should be some mechanism to ensure that consumers go to other places. Asked if the council should have been provided with more teeth before the initiative was implemented, Bharat said yes. So they asked you, should you, before you remove that, shouldn't you have gone to Parliament and brought some kind of legislation to give the Prices Council a little more teeth so that they could be a little more effective when price gouging takes place? And he says yes. So this decision to remove that wasn't well thought out. Well, let me do that now. Yeah, let me guide them a little bit, remove that, and so we can have one more thing on the list to beat our chest about. So it didn't occur to you Yeah, the Prices Council, we need to do something about that. Because as it stands right now, all they could do is call the Supermarket Association and say, oh gosh, Alia, have a heart now. Ease up the people now while you're overdoing it. They could do nothing else. And if the Supermarket Association say, to hell with all you know how much we paying for US to bring in we stuff. While you want to come and try to tell us how much profit we should make, go from here. Go from here. That's all they could do. Hear what he said there? Let me read this again, Bharat. Insisting that TNT operates in a free market state, Bharat said there was little that could be done. So prices of food going up, inflation skyrocketing, and the Minister of Trade and Industry, and also at that time, Minister in the Ministry of Finance is saying, the government can't do nothing else. Our hands are tied. The only thing we gotta do to try and assist the people was to remove VAT on 7,000 food items. We did that. It had nothing else we could do. Absolutely nothing else we could do. That's the best. And the very same supporters of the UNC who today cussing Rowley, and it's the Rowley and the PNM, it's because of them that the price of food going up and inflation so high, right? They accepted this from Vasant Bharat in 2013. They wasn't cussing Vasant Bharat. They weren't cussing Kamla to say, it's because of Kamla, this going up, and it's because of Kamla, the food prices so high. No, in 2013, they had sense. Back in 2013, they understood how things work and how economics works. Yeah, they understood the free market system, that a government cannot tell private enterprise what price to charge for the goods and services. Because when a man takes his money and invests his money in a business to make profit, you cannot intervene. The Trinidad and Tobago is not a communist state, right? We're not a socialist state. So you cannot tell private enterprise, this is how much you could charge, and this is the most you could charge for this and that, and putting a cap on people's profits. Because when you do that, then the businessman will simply say, well, this ain't making sense. I invest my money to make as much profit as I can, but the government wants to tell me this is the most I can make. Well, to hell with all. I close down my business and go somewhere else and migrate to where it is that I can do what it is I want to do with my business. So they understood, the same supporters who cussing the PNM and Rowley today about high food prices and Rowley bring the country down to the ground. When this was happening in 2013, well, they had nothing to say. You rock back, yes. What we gonna do, boy? That's the best the government could do. Yeah. It's not Kamla's fault. It's not Vasant's fault. It's not the government's fault. This happening all over the world. All you know, it was happening all over the world back in 2013. You all know all of the all of the issues that were contributing to the increase in the price of food back then. But today, singing a different story. It's Rowley. Yeah? So Kamla could come on a platform and say, Rowley increased the price of flour by 33%. Rowley did that. Rowley picked up the phone and he called Nutromix, he called NFM, Sheikh Lisa and the rest of the suppliers and tell them increase the price of flour by 33%. Yeah? And her supporters clapped that. Yes, leader. Yes. Today, that statement that came out of thine own mouth comes thy judgment. Yeah? She has shown to be a damn blasted liar. But they wouldn't call her out on that. Rowley is a liar. He said he wasn't closing down Petrogen. And in case it was in your fridge and you ain't here, let me say it again. The government is not closing down Petrogen. But she come, Rowley increased the price of flour by 33% last week, man. You all could believe that? I thought I wouldn't call her. She's not a liar. No. She make a mistake. She made a mistake. Miss me with all your BS. I continue. Where did I reach? For weeks, Bharat said his ministry worked tirelessly with the Supermarkets Association to remove the VAT. Having gone through all of that, I think it is a lot of hard work down the drain. In fact, the claims that prices have gone straight back up to what it was before, it is worrying. Questioned if government's initiative had now gone in vain, Bharat said they were well-intentioned in reducing food prices in the manifesto. I don't think it was in vain. I think the government did everything it could do and had to do to reduce prices. Let me repeat that for you. I think the government did everything it could do and had to do to reduce prices. One has to ask if these are genuine increases. Then it would have meant that prices would have been 15% higher had we not removed VAT. The real issue, that really is the issue, asked if the initiative was a political ploy, Bharat begged to differ. You know what he said there? If they hadn't removed VAT, prices would have gone up by 15%. So prices went up by 15%, even though they removed the VAT. It would have worked out to 15% increase. So in other words, VAT at that time was 15%. There was a 15% increase in the prices, notwithstanding the removal of VAT. So you went right back to where you were. So the government take off VAT, 15%, and you know the supermarket and, the suppliers and whoever else did, they just increased the prices by 15%. So it went back to where it was. No improvement, no benefit. But my government, the government which I led, we removed VAT off of 7,000 food items, and in the space of 7 months, that was totally eroded. No benefit to the citizens. But the supporters today is still talking that trash. Kamala take food off of 7,000 food items and Rowley put it back on. Really? But here it is, this article, your Minister of Trade and Industry, your Minister in the Ministry of Finance is telling the population through this article in the space of 7 months and less, because prices, based on what I read earlier, the prices have started to increase since January. There was no benefit to the citizens. None. But all I want to boast about that today. I continue, and cost Rowley is because of Rowley, the price is going up. It is proven, if it is proven that importers are jacking up prices at their whim and fancy, how will they be dealt with? On Tuesday, Bharat said the Customs Amendment Bill will be debated in the Senate, and once it is passed in both houses, Bharat said Customs and Excise would be able, or rather would be obligated, to share information on how much importers pay for food items abroad. That will assist us in determining the absolute truth behind this. If it is that the imported prices are not what they have been declared to be by the importers, then I think the sharing of information will force prices down. Really? That didn't happen. Wendy Lien, no clout to make recommendations work. Wendy Lien, whose term ended as the council's chairman, as the Prices Council, said despite taking blows from consumers, it was frustrating to work with professionals who came up with recommendations that did not help rising food prices. You see no action taken. We had no clout to make any recommendation work. When you are looking to sweeten the electorate, sometimes you take action that you hope will find favor with the electorate without necessarily putting checks and balances in place, and that's exactly what they did. Since her departure, Lien said a new council was yet to be appointed, which gives the impression that no one was looking out for consumers. Right? So the Prices Council that Bharat talked about, their term of office ended, and a new one. Yeah, she says since her term ended, this is the former chairman. Let me repeat it again. Lien said since her departure, a new council was yet to be appointed, which gives the impression that no one was looking out for the consumers. She said she could imagine that consumers were feeling hoodwinked and duped to a point. Lien said she wrote the Consumers Affairs Division advising that it needed to operationalize the Fair Trading Commission, which was passed and assented in Parliament several years ago. They so care about poor people. They're so concerned about the increase in prices, but yet still, the term of office of the previous council expired, and they didn't see it fit to urgently appoint a new council. Bearing in mind the fact, of course, it was very difficult for them to find persons of stature, persons so qualified to serve on some of these boards. Hence the reason we had the false papers situation. Appointing a commission, she said, will ensure that importers do not work in collusion, stop monopolies, advise the trade industry of the rate of taxes on food items, and streamline imported product. If asked to serve again, Lien said she would accept, but only under certain conditions. If it is going to be the same old, there will be no positive outcome for consumers. TNT affected by what happens globally. Harford Rooks. Elizabeth Harford Rooks, president of the Food Distributors Association, admitted that prices of some commodities had increased, mainly bacon, imported chicken, and some canned vegetables. There are issues right now with beef coming out of the US because of short supply. We are affected by what happens globally. Don't say that. Apparently, that only happened, and that was only of relevance between 2010 to 2015. Saying that today, we're hearing from the same UNC supporters who accepted this in 2013. I'm not living outside. I live in Trinidad. I don't want to hear about what's going on outside. Because Trinidad and Tobago living in the dome, Kamala's dome from 2020, so we insulated from anything that happening outside. So in 2010 to 2015, they're willing to hear, yes, this is as the prices going up because of what's happening globally. 2015 to 2023, we don't want to hear that. That's a lie. That all this thing about what happening globally. Trinidad and Tobago. Yeah? As I said, between 2010 to 2015, apparently they had sense. And effective September 7, 2015, sense went out the door. I continue. Brown. She said, and I'm continuing here, Harford Brooks said the association always tried its best to keep prices down. We will not increase our price just for increasing a price. It will not be beneficial for us. Hazel Brown, insisting from the onset that the concept of VAT removal was flawed. Brown said the move cost the government $400 million in revenue, and Brown believes that the move only created opportunities for importers and not consumers. She urged consumers to exercise collective buying and start growing vegetables at home. On Thursday, the network of NGOs sold seedlings to the public and also gave advice to consumers on how to utilize spaces in their homes to grow crops. A message left for the Manufacturers Association President Nicholas Lockjack, who is out of the country, was not returned. You all can find this article for yourself and read it in your own time. VAT on food flops. Trinidad. Just look it up and read it in its entirety. Right? So that VAT over 7,000 food items didn't help the country. It didn't last very long. There was no real benefit to the citizens. Perhaps somebody needs to send that memo to Mrs. Prasad Bissessa and supporters of the UNC. But I just wanted to give you all, right, some other statistics. This is not my statistics. This is statistics from the Central Bank, the CSO, and the Auditor General's report with respect to the inflation rate between 2010 to 2021. In 2010, the People's Partnership came into office in May. Inflation for 2010, 10.55%. Inflation rate 2011, 5.11%. Inflation rate 2012, 9.26%. Inflation rate 2013, 5.20%. Inflation rate 2014, 5.68%. Inflation rate 2015, People's Partnership leaves office. PNM comes into office. Inflation rate 2015, 4.66%. Inflation rate 2016, 3.07%. Inflation rate 2017, 1.88%. Inflation rate 2018, 1.02%. 2019, 1%. 2020, 0.60%. 2021, 2.06%. Right? So since Keith Rowley came in 2015, inflation rate has been dropping every year. Right? The lowest it was under the People's Partnership was 4.66% in 2015. And that's when they left office. 10%, 5%, 9%, 5%, 5.6%. You know what that means? That the cost of living under Kamla Prasad Bissessa for the 5 years, 3 months, and 14 days that she was Prime Minister was much higher than it was and has been under Keith Rowley. The rate at which the price of food and other items have been going up in this country under Keith Rowley, for every year that he has been Prime Minister, it has been much lower than what it was under Kamla Prasad Bissessa. So when you all want to come and talk about all the high food prices and Rowley taking the country and people suffering, and the cost of living, the inflation rate under Mrs. Prasad Bissessa was always higher than every year under Keith Rowley. But you see, these are statistics that are available. And don't you love statistics? Every time the opposition wants to challenge a piece of legislation, we want the data, and we want the data. Give us the data. Well, look at our data here. Look at the data there, right? At one point in time, Trinidad and Tobago held the record for the lowest inflation rate in the world. 2020, 0.60%. Kamla Prasad Bissessa never saw an inflation rate that low under her. So prices were going up much higher and much faster under her than under Keith Rowley. But things was better under Kamla. And Darwish, the basic items, we get a little relief. Really? Well, the data doesn't say that, Darwish. The statistics don't say that, Darwish. Doesn't. It says that under Keith Rowley and the PNM for the last 8 years, the rate at which the cost of living has been going up has been significantly lower than under Kamla. But all I don't want to hear that. You're not ready for that conversation. Because you have a narrative to push. The narrative that they feed in you all, Underground Report, Douglaya Politics, Doubles and Coffee, the Monday Night Forum. Yeah, look all your talking points for this week. Go out and propagate that. Yeah, go. Go with that. Yes, we know all you don't have the capacity to be able to do your own research, right? And even when you do your research and you realize, but wait, what we are being told on these platforms and what is totally different, because the statistics do not support the talking points. The statistics do not support the narrative that they're giving you all to spin on these platforms. And given the fact that you are suffering from a severe case of cognitive dissonance, right? You all have held on to a truth for so long because I need something to get me vex. I need something to cuss Rowley about. I need something to hate Rowley for. And even if it's lies and propaganda, I am not going to do any research to get any data, any statistics, or any facts that tells me that what my party is telling me and the reasons they're giving me to hate Rowley and the PNM is based on falsehood. So I can't accept that. So you know what? I just run in with that. And even when I am persons who support the PNM, or even persons who are neutral, provide us with evidence to the contrary to what you're being told on your party's platforms. All it is, Halalia mother so-and-so, Rowley mother so-and-so, yeah? And who is Latrine Fly, and like Bamsi, and all of that. You all can't accept the truth. But then quick to jump and say PNM people is vote based on race. We don't. We do not. We vote based on facts. And the facts are, as I just read for you, that all your VAT over 7,000 food items made no difference. No difference. In fact, all it did was result in the price of food going up because it gave an opportunity to suppliers and manufacturers and importers to dig out all your eye, to dig out the country's eyes. They seized that opportunity, right? And that is what, so we didn't benefit from that. So the next time we'll hear Kamala and them talking about, under my administration, we remove VAT over 7,000 food items. And how did that help the country? Tell us now. Ask Vasan Bharat, who is no longer there, right? The man who they described as an elitist, the man who the UNC described as a knife and fork Indian. Not me, eh? They call him that, right? They called him that during the internal election when he was challenging Kamala for leadership of the party. Country before party, then go to hell. Go to hell. There's Vasan Bharat in that article. The same Vasan Bharat who saw it fit to purchase Porsche Cayenne while he was minister for the official and exclusive use by the minister. Yeah. So apparently, these ministries always have high-end SUVs, Prados and Fortuners and so on. That wasn't good enough. You needed to take taxpayers' money, some $400 and something thousand to buy a Porsche. You see any minister in this government buy a Porsche through the ministry for the exclusive use of the minister? No. They're using whatever vehicles the ministry has. That's how it's supposed to be done. But they want to tell you about PNM wastage and PNM squandermania. And, right. Yeah, Dawish, what you had to say now? You're going to jump in the comments and say something and tell me about my mother, my father, how my mother make me? Because that's the only response you all could give. Nothing of substance. I always tell you all, challenge me based on facts. Let's have a debate. If anything that I say you disagree with, then provide me with the information on which you want to challenge it and we could discuss it. But you all could never do that. Rowley this. Rowley's a pedophile. Rowley's a rapist. How that come into the conversation? Hide your children from Rowley. Hide your children from Rowley. They put up a big banner in Oropouche. But right now they have an issue with one of their candidates, some down in Penal. Yeah, apparently he had some sexual escapade with a 15-year-old. Well, I don't know. I just seeing that it's all over the place. I ain't calling no name. Right? I have court closed, but I don't have court time. I have other things to do, more pressing things to do. Yeah? But that is what I have seen it's all over the place, and I haven't seen the individual put out any statement. I ain't seen no pre-action protocol letter. What we hear in his explanation that he didn't know that the boy was 15 and the boy telling him he was 18. And anyway, we will see how that plays out. But even if charges come in that situation, he's still going to run for the seat. Because UNC is not going to give up a seat that easily to the PNM. And as we've seen, they will say it's PNM propaganda. Yes, PNM propaganda. The same thing with David Lee and Iba Canal is PNM propaganda. Them don't do no wrong thing. It's always the PNM. So If it is anybody hoping that anything will come out of that with respect to him stepping down, forget that. The same thing with the central bank guy. You know the company's rules, right? It is there. It has been there. It has never been an issue before. Jayanti and Anna never sought to challenge those rules before to help anybody. But now, because one of their candidates finds himself in a conundrum with respect to the central bank rules and has been given an ultimatum, all of a sudden the rule is offensive and they wish to challenge it. But I can bet you bottom dollar, had it been a PNM candidate who had found themselves in such a situation, you think Jayanti and Anand would have, just of their own initiative and own volition, approached the court to challenge it? No, they would have seen it as an opportunity for them to get an easy seat, an easy PNM seat. That is what they would have seen it as. And so it is convenient. It's convenient for them only because it affects one of their candidates that they deem it to be offensive. But in the police service, when it is Dwayne O'Connor went up for screening for the PNM in the last local election in 2019, the bacchanal there, because police rules are that police officers are not allowed to campaign and they are not allowed to, engage in political activities as officers. Did Jayanti and Anand run to the courthouse to say that is unfair? Did they run to the courthouse and say that is a contravention of a citizen's rights, constitutional rights? No. They only challenge in central bank, but the rules still exist in the police service. Why you all didn't include that too? Because it don't affect all. You have no candidates who are police officers, so that is not an issue. Until it pops up that they have a candidate who's a police officer and finds themselves in that situation, then they will take it to court. But they're so for country. Yeah, they are patriots and they want what is best for the country, but they're convenient in what offends them. Only when it affects them. It's convenient, right? But let me see if it is no. Anyway, I'm going to leave that there. I will leave that there. Right. Let me see something here. Yes, no. So I see also too, the UNC Laki, Ravi Balgobin Maharaj, is now filing suit, I think, questioning what is the Freedom of Information request. And he wants to know, and he's questioning now the basis on which Gary Griffith, when he was Commissioner of Police, would have retained the services of private lawyers, private attorneys, when it is that you had attorneys in the police service, and in fact you had police officers who had qualified as attorneys, right, that they were bypassed, and that Gary would have been, based on what the document says. Mr. Balgobin Maharaj is questioning, and he wants to know the circumstances under which Mr. Griffith would have retained these private lawyers, how much money was spent on these private lawyers, and so on. So the Freedom of Information request was filed on Erla Christopher, the current Commissioner of Police. And of course, the attorney who is filing this on behalf of Mr. Balgobin Maharaj is Anand Ramlogan, right? Because Ravi is Anand proxy. Every time Anand needs to do something like that. Remember when Anand wanted to challenge Gary Griffith's acting appointment as Commissioner of Police, he used Ravi Balgobin Maharaj and they were successful. The court declared that the circumstances under which Mr. Griffith was appointed Commissioner of Police, or rather to act, it was unconstitutional, it was illegal, and as such, Mr. Griffith had to demit office. So yet again, now I ain't hear Motomou talk nothing about that, right? And it has been in the public domain. He ain't talk nothing about that. But you sent in pre-action protocol letter to the Guardian for an article they published, Stanley John. Now, it's interesting with respect to that pre-action protocol letter, because there was another article that was published late last year, the one that talks about a well-oiled criminal enterprise, which gives you granular details of all of the things that happened, number of firearm users licenses that were given, where it claims that based on Mr. John's information, firearm users licenses were given to persons with criminal records, persons who had matters before the court, and all of these different things. No, he didn't file no suit on that. No pre-action protocol letter with respect to that article and the findings of the report. But on this other article, where Mr. John says he stands by his findings and so on, you're suing the Guardian for that, not Stanley John, right? Because this is the same Stanley John. When it was announced that the investigation was taking place, Mr. Griffith said he contacted Stanley John to make inquiries, and Mr. John told him, no, you are not the subject of any investigation, and he was satisfied with that. In other words, proceed, Mr. John. You say you're not investigating me, right? You sure? All right, well, no problem. Well, I'll beg you up. You go ahead and and do your investigation. But during the course of the investigation, certain information would have come out, would have been unearthed that perhaps implicates Mr. Griffith. And now he has an issue with it. And he has the nastiest and worst things to say about Stanley John. Stanley John, you are a failure, you are this, you are that. He wasn't a failure when it is, he started the investigation and he told you, you would not be the subject. You are not the subject. I'm not investigating you. I'm investigating the process for the issuance of firearm users licenses. And if in the course of that investigation, that interrogation, if I get information with respect to any alleged involvement that you may have had, alleged, I put it in my report. There's what the people telling me, right? Because I'm investigating the process. And I am seeing people are telling me that some places along the line that the commissioner is implicated in one way or another. So I have to put it in the report. Mr. John didn't lie. He wasn't investigating Mr. Griffith, but information would have come to him as a result of the interrogation that he was doing, the commission that was given to him by the PSC, not Dr. Rowley. Dr. Rowley didn't retain the service, contrary to what Mr. Griffith has been saying. Dr. Rowley didn't hire Stanley John. Police Service Commission did that. And they gave him a mandate, and in the execution of that mandate, certain information came out, right? But I raised the point of this freedom of information because we know what's going to happen after that, right? Courthouse next. And they're going to publish that. But I wait to see, I find it very interesting. This relationship, this accommodation between the NTA and the UNC, right? So we ride in, we together for the local election with a view to carrying this accommodation into the 2025 general election. How is that going to last when you have UNC attorney, former attorney general, and still member of the UNC, Anand Ramlogan, and prominent UNC activist, Ravi Balgobin Maraj, who sits up front at every UNC meeting, who Kamla Prasad Bisesa always calling out. Thank you, Ravi. I want to thank Ravi for the wonderful work that he's doing, with respect to all of these matters that Ravi is bringing before the court. Well, look, Ravi, bring another matter involving your partner, Gary Griffith. How is that going to saddle Mrs. Prasad Bisesa? So when Ravi gets the information that he wants from the Freedom of Information request, and he presents it, are you going to come on our platform, Mrs. Prasad Bisesa, and read out? In the same way, you're always proud when Ravi raises any matter against the PNM and he finds judgment in his favor. You're quick to come and talk about it, a whole mouthful, half an hour and more, you will talk on that and clap and praise Ravi for the great work that he's doing. So when it is that he gets the information that he is looking for from the police service, with respect to this latest Freedom of Information request, if there is anything in there that implicates Mr. Griffith, are you going to come on the platform, Mrs. Prasad Bisesa, and speak about it? Are you going to praise Ravi for the great work that he's doing? Or is it because you all are in an accommodation, you're not going to speak on that? Right? You're going to tell Ravi, no, Ravi, yeah, forget that now. Keep that on the down low. You need to talk that. But you're for country, yes? Yes, you are the Prime Minister in waiting, and you have the country's best interest at heart. I want to know how you're going to deal with that. Because Anand continues to be a thorn in Gary Griffith's side. Anand know what is he doing, Gary Griffith told us. He told us that when it is, the reason why Anand Ramlogan challenged his acting appointment was to paint him as a hostile witness, so that when that witness tampering case comes up, of which Gary Griffith is one of the witnesses, to say that Anand Ramlogan asked him to call David West, that Anand could present a defense to say, well, we can't believe what Mr. Griffith is saying because Mr. Griffith has an axe to grind against me. I was the attorney that challenged his acting appointment as Commissioner of Police. And now we can add another one to the list. I was the attorney that filed the Freedom of Information request with respect to Mr. Griffith's retention of private attorneys while he was Commissioner of Police. And in an attempt to get back at me for doing these things, that is why Mr. Griffith is saying what he's saying now. He has an axe to grind. And I know stupid lawyer, he will any defense and he's using Ravi Balgobin Maraj. What does Gary say? Yeah? But I am just asking, how will that accommodation carry over into 2025 when it is clear that Mr. Ramlogan, who is still a prominent part of the UNC, albeit not publicly, continues to jam Gary Griffith in his side. Is Gary going to call Kamla and say, Miss Kams, tell them I'll leave me alone now. Ease me up. What is he really doing? If we are in an accommodation, well, let's suppose we are partners, what's happening? You're trying to undermine me. What really going on here? I trying to build my party. I trying to assist you all. And here it is that you're only digging up and trying to get things to make me look bad. It's not the PNM doing that, Gary. Not the PNM doing that. It's not a PNM lawyer. Ravi Balgobin Maraj is not a PNM. Anand Ram Logan is no PNM. It's the very same party that you hook up with, that you arm in arm with, that you form accommodation with. It's them doing you that. So they use here. Yeah, let me use them now. Because we can't win no seat in Debo Martin. But maybe he might have some clout down there. So we'll form an accommodation, right? Anything to reduce the PNM stronghold. Yeah? It has nothing to do with country. It's about sticking it to the PNM. And anywhere that Gary could make inroads and could probably pick up a seat or two, we're going for that. But at the end of the day, you feel Kamla going to pick up the phone and tell Anand, hey, pull back that? Never happened. But I ask the question again, if you're really for country, Mrs. Prasad Bisesa, when it is Ravi get the information that he asking for, let me see if I find it here. Just now, come on 1 second. Let me see if I could give you all the specifics. Where did I see this? So, right. Freedom Law Chambers. Letter dated 3rd of July, addressed to Ulla Christopher. Request for access to information on behalf of Ravi Balgobin Maraj under the Freedom of Information Act. Reference is made to the matter at caption, in which we act on behalf of Ravi Balgobin Maraj, our client, of number 50 Riverside Road, Curep, in the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. Our client is a well-known social media journalist, blogger and public-spirited social and political activist who is concerned to ensure that the government and public authorities respect and uphold the rule of law. He has been the advocate for transparency, equality, justice, accountability, and good governance. Perhaps if he was an advocate for all of these things between 2010 to 2015, the country might have been in a better place today. He wasn't a proxy then. Back then, he was looking to challenge Wayne Kublal Singh when Mr. Kublal Singh was fasting under the highway route movement, and he almost died from starving himself. You remember when he was fasting outside the Prime Minister's office? Back then, the Prime Minister's office was opposite QRC there. And Mr. Balgobin Maraj decided he will hold his own fast. Right? He will hold his own fast. Opposite, he sit down in the sun. Mr. Kublal Singh was under 10, but you want to play thing, you sit down under the sun, or you're fasting with your piece of sada in your back pocket, and every minute nobody here watching you pinch a piece. And we ship it. That fasting lasts as long as the Red House fire. Sata Mama gives something with them. But anyway, as part of his civil responsibility, our client meets with several members of the public to listen to their grievances, provide counseling, mediation, and assistance on a myriad of problems. Is all that you do, eh? As a community leader, he takes a keen interest in the management and operations of state enterprises and public authorities to ensure that they properly serve the public interest and value for money is obtained. This man don't have a work. He don't have a job. I think he has a wife. I don't know how he's supporting that wife, but anyway, because if he had time to do all of these things, where you working? Anyway, he frequently utilizes the Freedom of Information Act, that's an understatement, to assist persons and gather information for his own social research. In doing so, our client has had cause to intervene on behalf of citizens on numerous occasions. Right. According to a newspaper article of Trinidad Guardian entitled $1 Million Legal Fees at Commissioner Police Office under Radar, published on the 30th of October 2021, the former Commissioner of Police Gary Griffith hired external attorneys from the private bar in his legal department, bypassing attorneys from the Attorney General's office. The article reads as follows. The issue of legal fees paid to hire external lawyers to represent the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service has also come under scrutiny, and traditionally the TTPS has always been represented in civil matters in the High Court by legal officers from the Solicitor General's Department and the Chief Solicitor, State Solicitor's Office, which all fall under the Ministry of the Attorney General and Legal Affairs. However, the SGD and CSSO, as well as lawyers from the TTPS legal department, were being bypassed and external lawyers were being hired to represent the TTPS in High Court. Sources indicate that several senior attorneys from the SGD and the CSSO raised concerns about this practice and policy because it is the Attorney General who is responsible under the Constitution for the conduct of all civil proceedings against the state. Questions were also raised about whether or not a note was taken to Cabinet to facilitate the bypassing of the SGD and CSSO. Continue. Our client notes the fact that the legal officers or officers from the Solicitor General's Department and Chief State Solicitor are appointed by independent right. Until the former Commissioner of Police, Gary Griffith, came on the scene, legal advice and representation was provided by the Chief Solicitor and the Solicitor General's Department. And this is so because Section 76(2) of the Constitution clearly says that the Attorney General shall be responsible for legal proceedings. Our client was recently approached by several police officers who are qualified attorneys on the very issue. These are long-standing service officers who have worked hard to qualify as attorneys and were unceremoniously bypassed in favor of these private attorneys who were recruited from outside of the TTPS. These officers stated that no advertisements or vacancy announcements existed. Our client was also informed that the attorneys in the legal department receive a relatively superior remuneration package as compared to the attorneys who are members of the TTPS. Papa Laps, Mr. Chandler, boy. No wonder why the man could afford a yacht. Our client is concerned that a dangerous precedent was set when the former Commissioner of Police simply handpicked these lawyers without following any clear or proper procedure, and the process was neither fair or transparent in that there were no advertisement of the vacancies, and police officers who are qualified attorneys never saw any notice of advertisement or inviting applications. They were also not aware of any interviews that were conducted. Right? So Mr. Balgobin Maraj wants Ula Christopher to say what was the procedure used. Why did Mr. Griffith bypass all of these attorneys? In the police service, in the Solicitor General's office, the Chief State Solicitor's office, as was the norm, and bring in private attorneys. And apparently, significant fees, as I said here, right? Now, Trinidad and Tobago, here's my question. Had it been somebody from the PNM had been accused of this, this would have been a topic. So I wait to see, because Mrs. Prasad Bisesa loves to talk about anything that Ravi and Ravi does. If she is really for Trinidad and Tobago, which we know she's not, if she's the Prime Minister in waiting and wants to ensure that everything was above board with respect to the retention of these attorneys by the former Commissioner of Police, this should be a topic of concern and a topic that she speaks about at the next Monday night forum. But I bet you she's not going to talk about it. She's not. Why? You're always concerned about everything that the PNM doing. You're trying to tell me that Rowley increased the price of flour by 33% is a more important issue than what one of your top activists is raising here? The same Ravi who took the government to court with respect to the decision to extend the life of the last local government council, extend the term. Yes, it's the same Ravi who challenged that, and they got the judgment on May 18, and the Privy Council say, So everything that Ravi does and goes after is important, something that must be spoken of on the platform. But I'm waiting to see if come Monday night, Prasad Bisesa going to talk about this. I'm waiting to see if Sunday morning in the waste of time quarter question press conference, if any of them going to raise this. I want to see if Jayanti will come and talk about this. Because this is a serious allegation that is being made here. No advertisement, no notices. So then on what basis did Mr. Griffith hire these attorneys, allegedly? You know, with Mr. Christian Chandler, who was the head of the legal department, and the troubles that Mr. Chandler found himself in, right? I always wondered where Mr. Chandler lived in Highland Park. Well, he probably had a very successful private practice before he came into the police service. But I'm just saying, I'm just asking the question, if you're such a successful attorney in private practice, and you're still a very young man, very young, from what I saw, then why would you leave such a lucrative private practice to come on in the police service to get a public service salary? Why would you give up all of that? You're so civic minded. I don't know. But remember, Gary Griffith is above reproach. He's the best at everything that he does. He's the GOAT, the greatest of all time. Greatest of all time. Anything he does, he's the best at it. Nobody can beat Gary at nothing. Yeah, when you challenge him, it's pre-action protocol letter in your backside. So I wait to see how this is going to pan out and how that is going to affect this relationship, this accommodation between the NTA and the UNC. When you have the UNC is doing things now, looking for information to jam the leader of the NTA. How do the members of the NTA feel? I'm waiting to see. I'm going to be checking Gary Griffith's page regularly to see if he responds to that matter. Yeah? Because this is a serious allegation that's being made against you, Mr. Griffith. There's a freedom of information request. Are you going to speak to it? Are you going to do a live and talk about Anand and talk about Ravi as you like to do Dr. Rowley? This is just another one of the latest developments in the chronicles of Gary Griffith. I'm not surprised. Interesting times ahead, because even if they were to be successful on August 14th, how is that accommodation going to work after that? You see? Bacchanal. It's not even 2025 yet. And as we always say, the alternative to the PNM is chaos. Chaos. Look what's going on up here. And again, I ask the question, is Mrs. Prasad Bisesa going to pick up the phone and tell Anand, leave that alone? We're not an accommodation with Gary. You can't do that. You know how Gary stopped. So let's see. 30 days. What's the date on this? The 3rd of July. The law says that the Commissioner of Police has 30 days in which to respond to Mr. Bago bin Maraj. So the 3rd of July, I think they would probably start counting from then. So 30 days would be the 2nd of August. 2nd of August. Let us see if Mr. Bago bin Maraj is going to come out on the 2nd or the 3rd of August and publish the findings of whatever information he receives from Ula Christopher. This is 12 days before or 11 days before the local government election. If there's anything incriminating, if there is anything of concern that comes, let us see if Mrs. Prasad Bisesa is prepared to put her money where her mouth is. If she really for country, if it is that any information comes out, is she going to come on the platform and speak of that and jeopardize the chances of the NTA in Diego Martin, in Point Fortin, in Tunapuna Piako, and wherever else they challenge it? Let us see if she's going to come with that information, if it is of a damaging nature. Whatever the findings are, publish it. Because you all made a point to publish this freedom of information request, right? You put it out there. So we know it's in the public domain. So we don't want to chinks in here. You can't be getting me half the story and then chinks in with the rest, as Fitzgerald Hines would say. We want the whole hog. Don't come and hide nothing. We want everything. Right? And then the media must ensure that they don't give these people a free pass. That come the 2nd of August, the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th, if you ain't hear nothing from Ravi Bago bin Maraj, you ain't hear nothing on the Monday Night Forum, ask them, what is happening with that? We want to know. Miss us with that BS. Look back, Anal. I'm waiting to see what Gary will say. I is waiting. Jay? So, and again, interesting. Gary loved to send out reaction protocol letters as we see in. A couple of weeks ago, Philip Edward Alexander did a live in which he made 2 allegations with respect to Inshan Ishmael. He says that Gary Griffith was instrumental in giving Inshan Ishmael the lands now known as Baraka grounds. And that Mr. Griffith, that Inshan Ishmael would have had a lot of police cars in his yard being repaired when Gary Griffith was Commissioner of Police. You heard Inshan respond to that? Did he refer that, and I'm sure he saw it, did he refer that live to Richard Jagasa, his attorney, his attorney who always on standby? His attorney who always on standby. Is there you see any pre-action protocol, or is it that Richard is having a difficult time with this one? Let me just read this for you. Where is it? For those of you who might have missed it. Where is it? Where is it? I understood this man yesterday. Yeah. Let me just read this quickly. This is dated the 18th of June. When Inshan Ishmael decided to do a live to challenge, or rather to complain about a video, a song that Errol Fabian, who is the communications guy, I forget what is his position in the NTA, he did a song called Inshan Haram. And then John took issue with it because somebody tagged him and he saw the video. So in a response, that Inshan was painting a picture that this is an insult and an affront to the Muslim community. And not wanting to offend the Muslim community, Gary Griffith responded. He says the National Transformation Alliance absolutely values freedom of expression and an individual's right to act once it's within the bounds of the law. But having taken note of a video that was released earlier today, which can be perceived as being insensitive to the Muslim community, we would like to state that in no way do we condone or support the video. So basically, he threw Errol under the bus. As the political leader of the NTA, I recognize the valuable contribution the Muslim community has made to our cosmopolitan country. And even though the leader of another political party, Philip Alexander, unfortunately criticized me for being instrumental in seeing that state lands were acquired by the Muslim community when I was in government, I remain glad that I was able to play a part in helping the Muslim community, along with their support, because they have utilized the land admirably for their and the wider community's benefit. Gary Griffith, NTA political leader. So he has corroborated what Philip Alexander said, that he was instrumental in, well, as he says, the Muslim community. I wasn't aware that Inshan Ishmael is the Muslim community, because, and again, I asked the question, right? Lands were given to the Muslim community according to Mr. Griffith. For what purpose? Because right now, Baraka Grounds is basically a commercial space. You have a food court, which is the main thing. You have a car wash. You have a swimming pool, which I think is open for persons to come and get swimming lessons. I stand to be corrected, but I believe. And then I saw there's now an imposing structure, which I believe was the supposed hospital that was supposed to be built. The supposed hospital for which the lands were supposedly given. I don't know what it is. It was an imposing structure just behind the food court. The food court went up, so now they have seating on top and all of that different things. But for now, Baraka Grounds is primarily a commercial space for which income is being earned. As Inshan Ishmael says, he only opens his restaurant, Brilliant, a couple days for the week because that is the most popular restaurant on the spot. And so, in order to give the other restaurants an opportunity to earn money, he would only open his own Brilliant on a couple days, right? So he is personally making money off of Baraka Grounds because Brilliant is his business. So that doesn't benefit, that's not for the Muslim community. That is for one Muslim and his family, right? Could you tell me of anybody else or any other group in this country that got land to establish a commercial enterprise like that? Is that how we do it now? We just go, yeah, look, Bella Hospital. Yeah, but you decide to put up other things on it to make money, no problem. Or are we going to be told, well, you know, this is how they make any money to build the hospital? Is that what we're going to be told? Which factions of the Muslim community have shares or benefit from that land? Which, because we know it's not just one Muslim group that benefit that in this country. You have several different groupings. So which one benefiting from that? Because from what Gary's saying here, that was supposed to be for the benefit of the Muslim community. But it seems there's only certain aspects or certain factions of the Muslim community benefiting from that. But Rowley corrupt. Yeah, Rowley corrupt. When you're asking them questions, you know, Kamlan had asking that question. Had it been Dr. Rowley who had given away that land, well, oh gosh, we wouldn't hear the end of that. But nobody in the UNC concerned about that because as Gary just admitted here, he was instrumental in that. What role he played exactly, I don't know. Boy, let me see what's the time there. Let's get carried away sometime. There were two other things I wanted to touch on. Give me 1 second to play this here. Let me just pull this up. I'll put this thing on here. Yes, I forgot to offer congratulations to all of the students who would have sat the SEA and who were successful. Congratulations to all of you. And for those who may not have been able to get your first choice, keep your chin up, right? Don't, it's not about the school, really. It's about what you do with the placing that you got. Right. And don't let me not say that, but parents, you only force them to go to prestige schools, to go to prestige schools, so that when people ask you what school your child passed for, you don't have to put on your head because you school that he or she passed for a bad school. You don't go down that road now because it affects the children, right? And it don't make sense that, and this is something I've always had an issue with, even when I was at CIC. Why are you trying to send your children to school? And when it is, the child can pass with normal route, you utilize the 20%. Yeah. You decide to utilize the 20% option, right? You get a child into the school because probably his brother, his father, whoever it is would have gone there. But they can't keep up because these schools are highly competitive. They have inbuilt systems that when the students come in September, only for that first term, everybody is equal. But then I know they had the streamlining exam where in December, everybody does an exam and the students who score the highest are put in a special class, right? And they separate the goat from the sheep, so to speak. Don't put your child to the situation where they had to be competing in an environment like that. It will not work. It will not help them. As somebody, I can tell you about a situation that when I was there, twins, one was extremely bright, the other one wasn't. And the one who wasn't, he had a very hard time of it, right? Because children can be very cruel. They want to know how your brother's so bright and you dunce as ox. So don't be putting your children through them things. Please. Just say it. Right. So, let me get this here. I needed to touch quickly on the issue of the check. But I just wanted to play something with Mrs. Prasad Bisesa. Never a dull moment with her. Right? Again, Rowley. Yes, Rowley P. Look. Let me get this here. I will play that clip with the Doglaya and Nikwan on another day. Where is it? This song. Uvashi, baby. I needed to touch on Uvashi too. Right. I'm gonna get this here. Just where is this thing? Yeah, let me switching devices on. Great. This is Mrs. Prasad Bisesa on Monday night, right? Again, blaming Dr. Rowley for things he had nothing to do with. But that is typical of Mrs. Prasad Bisesa. Typical. Her supporters like to hear things like that, right? I'm going to play this.
Collapsed into paying bribes to get support. That's what they've gone. To pay bribes to get support. No. Still can't help them, you're right. Not going to help him. So what was Rowley thinking? To pay over $500,000 to a defector. Why are they humiliating their own PNM supporters with this type of behavior? Remember, they respect their loyal PNM supporters. What do they give them? 10 days. They give them a little 10 days. But they took away their children's laptops. They cut the gate. They did all these things to their own supporters. But they get over $500,000 to pay a bribe to a Judas.
Rowley do that. Right? That was Rowley's fault. Because Dr. Rowley called up the hardware owner and tell me, get away $500,000 now. You want to cross the floor. The hardware said, no problem. Yeah. Yeah, give me money now. That's Rowley's fault. Always. But you wouldn't speak about the fact that clearly, if in fact that the reason why the young man crossed the floor is because he was offered money. What does it say about the caliber of people in the UNC that you could be bought? Let's say no loyalty, none whatsoever, right? But that's Rowley fault. Rowley do that. Everything is Rowley and Rowley and Rowley. Let me touch on this as quickly. You see this thing the UNC continues to push about the PNM blowing the racial dog whistle. I was serious, but I've spoken about that before, and I need to touch on it again because the evidence is to the contrary, right? Jayanti Lakshmi the other day said that not Rowley, she wasn't expecting the PNM to pull the racial dog whistle so early, or the race card so early in the election, and she had an issue with that. I don't know what race card she's talking about, because Dr. Rowley made a point at the end of the day. It was the pundit who said it's urban youth that are attacking East Indians, and people took issue with that. So the point that Dr. Rowley was simply making, they want to give guns. Who they giving the guns to? They're going to get the guns to the urban youth to kill the urban youth? No. Who it is complaining and saying that they are being attacked by the urban youth? Urban youth, in other words, to say them Africans, young Africans, and them, right? That's a new term, urban youth. So, who it is saying that they're being attacked by the urban youth and they need to be able to protect themselves? The stand their ground law is for who? It's to give people the ability to protect themselves from the urban youth that targeting them. This is the point that the Prime Minister was making. But I draw, and this is the hypocrisy with the UNC, because Jayanti Lakshmi Dayal could come and talk about, let me say I'd like to talk this race talking, about race card. But whole year, Anil Roberts on his Douglaya politics, doubles and coffee, talking race. Whole year. PNM supposed to be a black party. Rowley say he's the blackest man. But when you look at the ethnic makeup of the cabinet, Terence Dayal Singh is not an African, and Faris is not an African, and Colman Burt is not an African, right? And Stuart Chung is not an African. He taken a census of the ethnic composition of the cabinet to say that Rowley not racist enough. But they say Rowley's a racist. But yet still, his cabinet makeup is more diverse than Kamala Prasad-Vissa's ever was. You have a problem with that. So he's not racist enough. Donna Cox recently appointed, and I've spoken on this before, and let me just pull it up again. Where is it? Right. Minister Cox appoints 38 people to Central and Local Public Assistance Board. Right. Donna Cox, Minister of Social Development and Family Services, has presented instruments of appointment to 38 people. Let me get this here. Right. The 38 people who will serve as members of the Central and Local Public Assistance Board. Presentation took place earlier today, May 22nd, at the ministry's head office. Mr. Roberts decides to take so there's a picture of some of the folks, right? Mr. Roberts decided to take a magnifying glass and to look at everybody to see what is their ethnic composition, to do a whole life to complain that of the 38 people, it had no Indian. Now I am seeing one person here who to me appears to be an East Indian, but then again, right? That was his complaint. When it is that the government hired Mr. Keskula, the new CEO of Heritage, you do a whole life, you put up the man picture, clearly a white man. And here, you see this black man here? You see this black man here? Rowley, the blackest man in the country. You say he's the blackest man. The PNM is an African party. But Rowley couldn't find a black engineer in Trinidad to put to head as the CEO of Heritage. This is Annie Roberts talking that nonsense, right? Everything for him is race, race, race. But Jayanti knew about that. And they continue to push this narrative. And it was my intention to play a clip. I don't know how many of you all saw this video, right? Let me see if I find it here. They put together, this UNC counselor by the name of Adrian Ali put together a video, a composite of persons of African descent talking about how the PNM don't do nothing for black people. Let's see if I find it here. You see, they didn't learn from 2020. They come back again with this nonsense. Right, let me see if I get this here. And who putting it out? Let me see if I find it. Where is it, boy? Where is it? I know it was shared. Let me see if I get it here. It's supposed to be in this chat. Again, I don't know how many of you would have seen it, but or heard it, but let me see if I find it. I will just play that. As I said, there are lots of other stuff that I wanted to touch on, but I just don't have the time today. Meanwhile, let me just say this too. You know, the UNC Kamala has been calling Dr. Rowley the laziest prime minister this country ever had. Well, I don't know, for the last few days, Dr. Rowley has had a pretty hectic schedule. Meeting after meeting after meeting. I don't know if he get a chance to sleep yet. I don't know. But if that is a lazy prime minister, well, boy, best Dr. Rowley be the prime minister for, seriously? Yes, no. Where is this thing? Why am I not finding this thing? I'll give me 1 second. Let me just see if I find this here. Eric Sanmarat, no. The video with the, no, here it is. Right. Listen to this.
7 years, 7 times gas raise, and your prime minister was bold enough to talk about it for 7 years. 7 years he blamed Kamala for things he could have fixed while he was in power. He stand up and blamed Kamala for 7 years. Now when they target my vote, I swear anytime any PNM persons come in my area, I'm going live and I am running all you out of my neighborhood. All you don't deserve a vote. Or if it's anything, all you have to get vote out. I've done this. I had enough.
Blessed morning. Dr. Kiprowley. Every time I put on the TV now, all I hear is race. We're not in the Olympics, sir. We are in the government local election. You need to start discussing your plans, your vision for the future generation of Trinidad and Tobago. Right? Give us your motive, give us your objective. Not race. We're not in the Olympics. Okay? People, have a blessed day. Love you guys.
Yeah, good night. Election time now, so I see Rowley talking instead of Black talk now. But in all honesty, Rowley do not care that Black people remain poor. They don't care the churn. The blood of the churn keep washing in the streets. As long as every 5 years they come out on that PNM bandwagon, that's all he care about. But truth and in fact, the only multi-million-dollar contracts don't go to African people. The millions and millions in rent paying every year continuously does not go to African people. Even the FULs in the country do not even go to the African people. Rowley has no concern for the poor or for the African man. Except on a podium at election time, we want to talk all our old talk. The mama guy African people to come out to vote for him. But when you go back to Rowley, your whole agenda is to keep giving the rich. You don't have poor people at heart, you have the conscious heart. I definitely will not carry the PNM down a dark road into opposition for a long time to come. Right? The decade for the African man was launched since 2015. Proposals was appraised in General Council. And Rowley wouldn't even look at a proposal to do anything for African people. So I let all African people in this country that the PNM will never, ever make an attempt to take out of poverty or to improve their condition. As long as they can be there serving the French school interest, the Syrian interest, and everybody else's interest, that is all Rowley and them concerned about. You see that all that old talk? That he keep that. Because we go and vote that out. You know, I'm not voting for no property tax. Trinidad is the same place safe. Thank God for your life, love and respect. That's some.
See that? I know who seems to put that together, you know? Boy. Wall Street. Yes, Wall Street. Right? Title of that piece of trash. That garbage. Is Wake Up just now.
For your life,
Betrayal and backlash.
love and respect. That's someone.
7 years only suffer this country.
Betrayal and backlash, the black community turns away from the RPNM. That is what Wall Street calls RPNM, Rowley PNM, right? And again, they didn't learn the lesson from 2020. So you get a bunch of African people, and you put together a composite of lives that they're doing, saying that Rowley ain't doing nothing for black people, right? We have the Homestead Program. You see, I don't even need to list out anything. I'm not going to list out anything. Unfortunately, I've made the point before, and I will say it again, that the most unfortunate thing with any PNM administration is that anything that they do that seems or could be deemed as affirmative action for persons of African descent, you will always have people in the UNC ready to run to the courthouse. I read for you an article just 2 weeks ago about some grant funding that the government has in place, and Ravi Balgobin Maraj ready to file freedom of information request and to go to the courthouse to cry discrimination, because based on his preliminary investigation, apparently the majority of the beneficiaries of this program have so far been persons of African descent. Every time something is done to help persons of African descent, but the Homestead program wasn't geared directly towards persons of African descent. But when you look at the majority of persons who would have applied, the other day when Mr. Hines made the point, when he gave the feature address last year at the Emancipation Parade, on Emancipation Day, because Dr. Oli, I think, had COVID or something, couldn't make it. And Mr. Hines spoke, and he raised the issue about there was some program, and when they were going through the list of names, they were disappointed to see that not enough persons of African descent were applying and so on. They wanted to rake Mr. Hines over the coals. But this individual, or these individuals, right, were Rowley doing nothing for black people, and Rowley all the money going towards the 1% and so on. I make the point. The Red House renovation project, a budget of 441 million. There were 6, well, so far that I would have been able to identify, 6 contractors of African descent who got in total $125 million in contracts. The largest single contract of $61 million for electrical went to an African-owned electrical company. But you have this ignoramus coming to tell you all the big contracts African people don't get at. Do your research. Where your information coming from? There are things out there. Laventil Technical Institute, right? The old Rumbond was created under, right? Demanding administration to provide opportunities for persons from that community. Hey, come and learn something. Improve your lot. They rather run across the highway and go in the Labas on the Beetham landfill, jump on garbage truck, right? To see what they could salvage, to run back across the road to see what they could go and sell. That's what they prefer to do. They wouldn't go to find out how they could get enrolled in the Laventil Technical Institute. They're interested in that. They want to run behind garbage truck, that when you fall off and the truck roll over, you're an expense to your family, because you don't have money to pay for funerals, so they had to go now to try and see how they could get little money to bury you. That's what you want, right? What did the UNC People's Partnership give them? Colony are in $69 a day for 3 months to pay some dilapidated buildings that now this administration has to come and demolish to build something better. UNC weren't thinking of that. When they had the highest energy revenues in the country's history, they weren't interested in saying, well, let's improve your lot, right? They didn't say, let's take some of these people and put them down in Victoria Keys so that we could demolish these buildings and rebuild them and give the people something proper to live in. No, they say, hey, hold $69 a day. Had they launched in the Hilton, and then when the people from East Dry River turned up, they were met by riot police and riot gear, right? Because they probably get the memo, as I said, I never see coming up to the Hilton, and we ain't want no bacchanal. You bring riot police, right? Yeah. Well, you ain't talk about that. That is how you greeted them, with riot police. They give them baby grant, $500 a month to make child, food card, CPEP and URP. Nothing sustainable. That where it is that this administration is putting things in place, and I keep referencing the Homestead program. The government is paying for you to go and study agriculture for 1 year in UE. And when you come out, you're a successful graduate, you're getting 2 acres of land and start a home, $20,000 to start your business, right? But this ignoramus, the 3 of them, Ain't about that. Rowley ain't doing nothing for black people. There, when they had the small and medium contractor, the HDC, was given houses, and they developed this program specifically for small and medium-sized contractors. The people who normally take little domestic work, you have a house to build, something to repair in your house and so on, you want to do an extension, the people you would hire, not the noted contractors, right? The little village or contractor. They set up that. They say, come, we're going to give all your contracts to build house. You could get between 3 to 10 houses to build, depending on your capacity, your size, how many workers you have, and so on, and your wherewithal, your ability to read plans and all of these different things. How much you feel you could handle. And the budget, $500,000 a house, you're making a profit of $100,000 in each house. So you could make anywhere between $300,000 to $1 million in profit on one set of contracts, right? When they launch in government campus, in the auditorium, the people who were complaining the most, but why we had to pay for the package? HGC say $500 to pay for the package, but almost everybody is guaranteed because we have a number of projects all over the place, right? Throughout the country. And we're targeting small and medium-sized contractors throughout. So it was almost guaranteed. Once you sign up and everything in again, you will get at least 3 to 10 houses. There's enough houses we're building that everybody could eat our food. But when I listen, $500 for that thing, why we had to be paying $500? Why couldn't that be free? Grumble, $500 you find is too much money to put out to make a profit of $300 to $1 million. That's the problem. That is the problem. And who were the people when I was there, because I went to get information to come back and talk about it on the radio, and who it is that are hearing and who are seeing, making them complaints? The people that are looking like me. But Rowley ain't doing nothing for black people. Rowley ain't doing nothing for Africa. And only buying that stupidness, right? So many things this government have put in place to help. But we have an issue with everything. Everything is too hard. It's too hard to do. So everybody else taking advantage of it. And I only want to sit down and complain, Rowley ain't doing nothing for black people. And that is why that's Cambridge Analytica. We heard it in the video in the Cambridge Analytica. That's what they say now. Target the African youth. Tell them don't vote. Right? Tell the African youth not to vote. You know, vote campaign. But of course, we know, and the same Cambridge Analytica video talked about that, you know. But we know that the East Indians will ensure that their children come out to vote. They will do what the parents tell them to do. But the Africans, And this Wall Street is a very dangerous man, eh? Very, very dangerous man, right? But I say no more on that for now, because it's already 8:13, right? And I have my class to teach this morning. So let me see to open this line one time. I wanted to play a clip about the Brent Thomas thing. And I love how the Prime Minister of Dominica put in a place. I say them by name, but he recognized where that question came from. Right? Let me just put this on there. Just now. I'll play it. Perhaps I'll play it on Sunday. So, hold one sec there for my just. Let me just push this use. Jenny, go ahead.
Hi, morning, Dominic. To all of you tuning in to the hottest morning program on internet, Facebook, YouTube.
Thank you.
You see people who live in America and don't contribute anything to this country.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they should be given that type of space. However, you're correct in saying that the individual, based on the things he's doing, is dangerous, I'm saying.
Mm.
But you know what? It comes from a person who seemed to have arrested development, because he still has to answer whether or not he's an assistant volunteer coach for track and field University. So when he's touting, he's what lecturer and professor and all those things.
Yes.
So we want to know, and he hasn't been able to answer yet, whether he's a volunteer assistant track and field coach. And if he can answer a simple question like that, it shows the type of individual that he is. He has a ground to Dr. Rumi, and he continues to sing and say what he feels is necessary, and he's still getting traction. I was watching the press conference thing with CARICOM heads there, I think it was last night, it was live.
Mm-hmm.
I was instructive that Yubashri would go there, but you know, I wish Dr. Skerritt had let Mayor Mottley answer the question she asked, because she brought up the whole Brent Thomas issue and whether or not in terms of CARICOM, I'm paraphrasing now, whether they would have done the right thing on the kidnapping, because she raised that word and the judge say it was kidnapping of a Trinidad citizen and all that. And Dr. Skerritt answered her very nicely. I don't know if she get it just because they seem to be immune to criticism and immune to when people being sarcastic at them. But he answered her well. And it just shows that they just give them a script to come to read. In a place like that, before you come to speak about the unity, what's going to work, how they're going to improve the CSME, what does that mean for the Caribbean, what does that mean for trade, the economy, what does that mean in it? No, you go on to talk about Brent Thomas and whether or not the other Caribbean countries had known what these agencies, Caribbean agencies, would to fight crime, what they would have done and all that. But again, everybody will see for what it is. With regards to Dr. Rowley speaking about what it is this meeting, Gary Griffith would have written for some community or some group to treat Dr. Rowley when he spoke about the stand your ground laws is something that will affect African persons. The data show, you know, Pundit Satya Maharaj, who is Kamala's Pundit, because he was the one who would have gone and marched with them about the Sari issue. Well, Sat Maharaj was the head of the Hindu community at the time, and I said, you see nothing wrong with that skit that I put on here. But Satya Maharaj wasn't and marched with Kamala and them. So he always popping up with them with anything. He's the one who would have said in a public meeting to the world to hear that Indians are being targeted in Aranguez by African youths. He said that. Kamala come and stand your ground, she will give everybody gun. We know, and she spoke, she connected it to the 28 states in America that have standing ground. And in those states in America, the only people who are killed by standing ground is African people. So if you want to juxtapose that and put it in our states, it is reasonable for any logical thinking person to assume that if you want to bring stand your ground laws here, because it is on what the 28 states in America is doing. Satya Maharaj is saying that there's African youths who targeted Indian people and they want gun. The only people going to be affected by that is African people. So Dr. Rowley is just speaking what the ground is saying. They say you don't listen to the ground. One is listening and hearing the ground. And the ground is saying stand your ground is to kill African people. That is in our estimation based on the data we have. So I want to leave it there with that, and lovely to have a blessed one. And to everybody listening, blessed morning, love to everyone.
Thank you, Jen. Hello, good morning. Hello, morning.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Mr. Dominic.
Morning.
Enjoying the usual and wonderful contribution from Ms. Jenny. Good morning. Mr. Dominic is a mouthful, you know. It's a mouthful, but let me point into point. Clip from Kamala Passabi talking about the government taking away gate. She should be the last person to talk about gate because it was the UNC who opposed that program about Sam Manning. The original idea was the dollar for dollar. You remember what the dollar for dollar was? The government would give you $30,000, but you had to find out $30,000 to educate your child. Mr. Manning, he raised all of that. I say it's for free. And a lot of races, including these Indians, took advantage of that. So that is one thing. So she should be the last person to talk about the government taking away gate. The government had to make some changes because of the amount of revenue was coming in at that time. Remember, Mr. What we were not traded? There's no money left. But that was the reason why. And next thing too, those folks in the football community and look African, I would probably forgive some of them because some of them was born in the 90s. They was in the Pampas, so they wouldn't know the first incarnation of Mr. Manning and Basil Pandey. What I wouldn't forgive them is that it was probably in the secondary and primary school when Kamala Passabi took up office. So they should have an idea about the governance of Trinidad because between 2010 and 2015. So they can come with so no youth man or no youth woman should come to me and say that or they go back to Kamala. They should have an idea between the period which was 2010 and 2015 of all the crazy scandals that took place. Right? Either those folks are them were burying the sand, or we people not that bright at all. And they have access to the computer, so they could go and click and look at the information. Right? Correct, Dominic?
Yes.
So don't come and so no youth man or no youth man don't come to me with that crap about or they want to go back to Kamala. Or they was probably in secondary school, the CD period between 2010 and 2015. And next thing to do, stand your ground laws. Or look connect the dots now. Dr. Rowley exposed the amount of bullets, amount of armor piercing, but I'm not to say it's regular bullets, it's the type of bullet that is piercing armor, piercing walls. You can tear it apart, connect the dots, cockroaches, urban youth, black man, connect the dots, people. Oh gosh, man. Dominic, you have a good day.
You too.
By the way, and next thing too, Dominic, that person who put out that post, that counselor. You know, I was reading something in one of these so-called pages. I don't even follow Kabal. But it's like that he was held under police custody. He was under custody. Funny how that doesn't make a report in the media office. But it was a hush incident. And also there's other things about the other councillors too, with some questionable reputation. I am still waiting to see what's going on in Princess Town. They're not talking about that at all.
Right.
I
Indeed.
don't know why. Anyway, you have a good day.
Thank you. Brian, morning.
Morning to you, Dominic.
Morning, sir.
How are you, sir?
I am good, and yourself?
Not too bad at all. Listen, good morning to all of your callers and listeners. Dominic, is it true? I didn't hear the initial part of your discourse, but did you say that Gary is going to sue the people as well as Dr. Rowley, which is next to what you mentioned in Bones Road?
Yes.
Oh, I want to hear what's going to come out of that. Really, really interesting. But Dominic, you see, I will tell you this. You said a lot of things this morning. And one of the things you said, you said about this Wall Street being a very dangerous individual. And I would wish that sometimes people would stop entertaining him whenever he calls in, because he has nothing to contribute, nothing good to contribute to Trinidad and Tobago, because he has been caught lying when Ms. Sharon Felix asked him, challenged his membership in the PNM, which he was not. And eventually, when he got to realize that he was an integral aspect of exactly who are members, he recognized that he was caught out. So he is an adulterated liar. That's why I call him false teeth. Because he lies. Because even look what happened in Tumaca the other day with the wind and the rain blowing up the roof. I want to ask the people of Tumaca, Claverhill, did you all receive any contribution or any call from false teeth? Please let us know. Because he has not up to this day, as far as I have heard, mentioned anything about assisting the people of Tumaca, Claverhill in that time of despair. You'll be talking about them and only from there. But has he attempted to assist them financially or otherwise? I doubt very much. I still wait to hear. And with respect to Dominic, and you are quite correct, Dominic, because this Honorable Prime Minister, calls him lazy. That is the same person that Gary Griffith said used to take 5-day weekends. But this Honorable Prime Minister has been going a mile a minute. You understand? All of these things that, especially this last CARICOM 50, which has drawn journalists from around the world. You understand? And exactly what it is he is attempting to do, not only for the people of Trinidad and Tobago, but for the Caribbean. Because if it is, Dominic, that you can bring the Secretary of State amongst other
what you call them, members of the, I think it's the Senate as well as members of the House, to Trinidad and Tobago, and hold discussions in this, especially where Prime Minister Gonzalez has a concern about Petrocaribe. That will affect the entire Caribbean. And your Honorable Dr. Keith Rowley is leading that discussion on energy, and will be holding, we have talks yesterday with them, and will be holding further talks this morning in order to ensure that the Dragonfield issue, as well as other issues that are imperative and important to not only Trinidad and Tobago, but the Caribbean as a whole, as well as being able to relax certain things that have happened with Venezuela, so that further more discussions and more negotiations can be held between the people of Trinidad and Tobago, the Caribbean, and Venezuela, was proven to be an integral part of the well-being of the people of the Caribbean. These are some of the things that we should be talking about. Not when Obashita Rari Rupnarai again goes to ask questions about whether or not it's an abduction. And as Jenny correctly said, I wish Mia Motley or Dr. Roddy would have been able to answer that question at the time. But they allowed the head of the chairman of the CARICOM to answer it. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
But I wish they would have been given the opportunity to deal with that issue. But instead of coming to talk about what is going to happen with the Petrocaribe and other issues as is pertinent to the well-being of the people of the Caribbean, and to remove some of the things that the United States have done to clamp down on Venezuela, which would trigger a lot of things that would happen again, as I said, with the Dragonfield and with Lauren Manatee, to benefit us as well as the Caribbean. No, that's not important. Kamla Patani, that's won't even attend that because a team won't even know what to talk about. You understand? And people are looking at these things and saying, hey, something wrong here. Is this the kind of leadership we want when we talk about Rowley doing nothing for black people, Rowley even giving me FUL? Imagine a person saying Rowley, he doesn't even know that Rowley don't give out FUL. Imagine that. But they're talking about Rowley don't give no black people FUL. How shameful. And you have a man living 4,000 miles away, coming and repeating that and selling that stupidness to people in Trinidad, especially along the East-West corridor. You all do not take him on because these people have absolutely nothing to offer because they are lazy. They have no use. You understand? Mm-hmm. They are just talking things that they cannot even understand. So we must be very, very mindful, Dominic, and be very, very careful and look at the shenanigans that are happening in Trinidad and Tobago. Because I have more to add about this GG thing, because I want to ask this question. Has Gary Gifford been given any seats in Central Trinidad? You give him seats along the East-West corridor. You give him seats down in Point 40. You give him seats in Central Trinidad. I will talk about that at another time. But thank you very much, Dominic, for giving me this opportunity to speak on your program.
Thank you, sir. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good evening, Dominic.
Yes, sir. Good morning. Hello.
Right, good evening, Dominic.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, Dominic, all right. That guy before me says a lot because it's basically on that road too. Because I would have seen Dr. Rowley in the early days going to Texas and in England, especially in England, to deal with BP and back to Texas to deal with Shell, to have the majority shares in BP. To overturn a deal that Kamala made with BP here.
Mm-hmm.
Kamala, to me, that was like giving BP a bribe for them to stay and drill. Because you tell them not to pay taxes for how much years so they can drill and whatever thing they get, and that kind of foolishness.
Right.
Dr. Rowley was able to reverse that. And on top of that, when they did agree to reverse it, Dr. Rowley was able to get back the taxes needed to come and pay public servants. Because remember, the central bank governor said there was no money to pay and they was looking for money. They were checking everywhere, nobody checked account in a mess, everything in a mess. So Dr. Oli was able to do that to stabilize the country. Right? And then he would have gone down now and lobby the United States to ease the sanction put on us.
Yes.
To get to deal with the field. He would have gone there and get through with Venezuela to get the field so he could thing, because he's a good bargainer. The man is a good leader. He lead a group of people in these two things. And these two things are so important to Trinidad and Tobago that even Guyana next door, the president of Guyana wants Dr. Rowley. He obviously, because he wants to sit down with Dr. Rowley and get ideas from him to deal with Mobile. Because with the deal that they have with Mobile, they're not getting fair share of the spoils. But they already signed that deal and they had to wait years before they could get anything out of it. By the time they could get anything out of it, it will be out fossil fuel. So Guyana, although they're rich in the minerals, that it's not guaranteed, because the world is talking about moving away from that, and a lot of electric vehicles are now coming on stream. So and the new gas and these things that they're going to, the doctor is trying to implement, so you can get cruise liners and then to switch the engine. You know, for the cruise liners and then to pass out with these diesel engines and then to switch to methanol. You know, if you could really get through that contract, you know how that will deal with us. You know how much millions it will cost them, but in the long run, it will save them the cleanup fuel and those things, and they will be intact with the new world order, the new world order in their things. But on the other side, we have Ms. Kamala Persad. She still recognizes Guaido as the president of Venezuela. If she be lost with this, if this lady becomes prime minister, how she's going to deal with Venezuela? How she's going to deal with CARICOM? And see how Dr. Oli again moved there. Dr. Oli get through with the gas deal here, and CARICOM is now dealing with trying to lobby United States to ease some of the sanctions on them so they can get the petri thing that they have there with petri. What was petri something Caribbean or something like that?
Yes.
Then you will have is up the island in Jamaica and those places. You'll get these refineries and they're moving back up, because once they get the cheaper fuel, they will blend it, and refineries in those areas will open back up. It will be, we will also buy cheap fuel from them too, for our economy. So you see, but when Kamala goes, Kamala is so that they had a CARICOM and go to a CARICOM meeting and said that Trinidad and Tobago is not an issue. What triple effect that out on it? I was in Jamaica that year, and I remember the Jamaicans and they was cussing about that. When I say the Jamaicans, I talk about the average man on the street there. I was downtown Kingston 8 walking through, going to get breakfast that morning. I parked the car park and I was walking through there. And I listened to the conversation. And they were totally angry. When I went into Hilo in Jamaica, people was boycotting the Trinidad product. So people like SM Jalil with Cool, National Canada, you have all these big group manufacturing companies, and then who ship to the Caribbean. And Kamala Persad, irresponsible as she is, made that stupid statement because she doesn't have that quality. All she knows is to fool people through this Cambridge Analytica that she invented. They invented Cambridge Analytica, and just getting people. But if you're going to give all these things, and she said again that when she come back into the same property taxes, we want to get revenue from Ms. Kamala Persad to give all these gifts and promises that they're promising us. It did, as these fellows and them say, Mariano and them say, and as I have, man, don't really agree too much with Mariano. I'll listen to what he say, but let's go down, wait down the road, let some time pass and see how does he makes what we call it, this is where you can if you get statements that's supposed to come to pass, and most of it doesn't come to pass because he doesn't have this fact. He doesn't have the fact, and even though if he has the fact, he weighs down himself by making incorrect calculations. And that is why I don't listen to him. No, he's a very intelligent person, but you see, he misinforms in some of his things because he total feelings. And if he stops total feelings and call his spade when he sees it, You know, you got call and listeners like me listening to often, but I don't listen to because of that. But Kamala Prasad, the sister, is the one who says that she recognized Guaido, and after the day she recognized Guaido. So all these things have a triple effect on the oil state and economy. Because she's going to do the diplomatic trade with Venezuela. And because it will happen, sooner or later the United States is going to ease some of the sanctions on Venezuela. But Venezuela now have to meet the United States along the way. I don't know how the distance both of them had a thing. I know that there's a talk between both of them. But when that happens, all the Venezuelans you see here, when things get easy and money starts spent, you don't think them flying back to Venezuela? They're going to go back to Venezuela. So when I hear Nafisa Mohammed on the news and talking about easing the sanctions on refugees and all kind of nonsense, I say she's talking foolishness. Before she joined with us and said that let's the United States, very love, because it's economy now. Let's lobby the United States to ease some of the sanctions. So the same people you fighting for to bring them here, you want to bring them here to get no treatment. And Venezuela, Trinidad and Tobago could fit into Venezuela about 25 times. So the amount of influx of people, we cannot afford that. Where they will fit, where you put in. You can't be sorry for everybody, but the system that is in place now that they put, which gives them a visa and a work permit, that they can come and work for a couple of months and go back and reapply again and come back. It's working perfect. Why you want to interfere with that? So Nafisa Mohammed and all these people, they don't have an idea how to run this country, you know. And that's why I say God forbid, you know, because if these people get into power, boy, we're going to make a 360 degrees roundabout and back down the ladder again and enter IMF. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Chance, call me back. Right, I was trying to find this thing here. Morning, sir.
Good morning, Doctor. How are you doing?
I am good.
Morning to all your listeners on online. I see you're growing significantly with respect to people listening to the program, and I want to congratulate you for the content.
Thank you.
But this morning, I want to join Brian, I think the last speaker. I want to see, there's been a lot of discussion about overall, but I want to make a point. What is happening in Trinidad and Tobago at this time has serious consequences for how we put food on our table. We, Trinidad and Tobago and the Caribbean, let me say that again. And when I say that, I mean for everybody. Because we don't print money. We don't have a bag of money anywhere to go and pick. We have to earn the money. And you see those discussions that are taking place in Trinidad and Tobago at this time. Let me make the first point. The first point is that CSNE, that CARICOM single market and the economy. You know what that is doing for our region? That brings about 18 million people together to purchase goods. It happens in Europe. You have the European Union. You have the Asian trading market. You have that connection all over the place. And we are doing 18 million. If we operate on our own, we are 1.4. If Jamaica operates on their own, it's only 2.4. So this is very important to us. And you know why that is important? Because last year, during the financial year last year, you know how much money we got from selling goods to the CARICOM? Nearly $10 billion. You know that? 10 billion. You know what that does for the economy? It helps pay social welfare. It helps pay those people in CPEP and everybody. So why that discussion going on? The CPEP work and everybody doing the business. They don't know that is money Dr. Rowley working for to put in the economy to pay them, you know. And to pay old age pension and to pay public assistance. They've not seen it. We have to connect it for them because we don't have a place to pick money. Last year we got $10 billion from that arrangement. With CARICOM, we are the biggest beneficiary because we have the largest manufacturing sector, which employs 50,000 Trinidad and Tobago citizens. Could you imagine If Kamala gotten through by talking about we are not an ATM machine and those countries start buying from us, what is it going to happen to those people in the manufacturing sector? They're all going home. And that is after we're putting food on your table.
Correct.
So they will not be able to put it on the table. They have to send their children to school to improve the quality of their life. So don't take lightly what is taking place in Trinidad and Tobago at this time. They have come together, and the man who has resuscitated, the man who has brought back the CSME on the front line is Dr. Keith Browning. He had a conference here in 2018, and he told them, listen, let us bring it back. Because Kamla Prasad, between 2010 and 2015, had literally destroyed it. People were separated. Everybody was fighting equality. I saw people in Jamaica say, we are buying nothing from Trinidad. And that went through all the Caribbean countries. Do you understand? So those things are important for us, and we have to share it with the public. The second point I want to make is that point that Brian made with respect to the discourse pertaining to energy security for Trinidad and Tobago and the Caribbean. Those discussions are important because remember that energy is a significant part of the resource of the Caribbean now. Guyana has gotten into it, Barbados going into it, Trinidad and Tobago into it. That is how we feed our people until we can diversify and go to the other areas. And that is why we have to stand up as Trinidad and Tobagonians and Caribbean people to protect our bread and butter. That is why the Secretary of State for the United States, Blinken, is here. And you heard me excerpts out of it, but they tell them it's important. Let me quickly tell you, the Petro-Caribe, the smaller Caribbean islands, they have an arrangement with Venezuela in which they pay long-term for the oil. You hear that? You know, like when you go to court and you have a long-term payment?
Mm-hmm.
That's what they do. And they have a small amount of money to pay. So they benefit from that. And the money that they save, they can use it for education, for health, they improve their people, the quality of life of the people. That is why they want it. We want that arrangement with Venezuela because we have the Dragon Seas and Sanchez. And if we get that opened up, that is going to create significant foreign exchange for Trinidad and Tobago because Venezuela has no capacity to refine and get into the petrochemicals. It has to come to Trinidad and Tobago. Jobs, foreign exchange, better quality of life, putting food on your table. That's my team. So don't treat what is happening there lightly. So we must continue to discuss that with our people. Let them understand this is not about Kamla. It's about Trinidad and Tobago. Yes, we know we have to talk about them, but we have to get some focus as well on what Dominic spoke about, what Dr. Rowley is doing and his leadership, because they are trying to show that he's doing nothing. And we have to point out to them that over this weekend, Dr. Rowley's effort is to put food on the table of the Trinidad and Tobagonians, as well as to support his Caribbean neighbors. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Folks, I apologize for the noise in the background. Apparently, the guy who maintains my yard decided to come early this morning. So, that's the waka here. Eric, you can give me a call back. Let's see what's the time there, boy. Yeah. Seriously though. So, give me 1 second. Just gotta see. Hello. Yeah, but wait. I just wanna call in. I will call it. So you know you can again. Right. back. See, yes, folks. Apologies for that. So, right. Just what's going on here? Hello, morning. Sir, go ahead. Yes, sir.
Man, when is that wrong between 6:30 and 9 o'clock? Don't come out of my car in front of the place. Yes, I also just monitor all the listeners and the average viewers of the live every Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday. And I want to say congratulations to the government of Trinidad and Tobago for hosting the CARICOM Summit meeting, which was a success, right?
Yes.
50 years, and we are expecting to get 50 more to come, right? Because minus the naysayers and the negative doers, and the one who they sent me yesterday, right? The one who they sent me yesterday to ask a lot of dotishness. Right? Like she put on political blinders and go on there to see what response. But as sorry as Jenny and other callers have said, if Mia Motley or Dr. Rowley would have answered that individual.
Oh yeah. They would
You
have,
understand?
but be a different story.
Mr. Rosenskirt is a very subtle person.
Yes.
So he knows how to deal with them, but he did it in a technical way. But you see, these reporters in this country just need people like Mia Motley, Dr. Rowley, Dr. Ross Gonzalez, these people to put them in a place for the time of opening out and talk bar. You understand? So I say good congratulations again to the government for hosting the CARICOM Summit.
Yes.
Dominic, you see this woman, who could you call Kamla Prasad Bissessa? I ain't giving her no title, I ain't giving her no seniority. She don't deserve it. Right? Because you, as the opposition leader in this country, does want to denigrate African people in this place. And yet still, your party seeking votes from these same set of people. Or they just cause the Eastern corridor day in, day out. You go on talking about what PNM gave the people is a 10 days work. But all they had color me orange for the young people, gave them $69 a day to do what? Hands up, out, up, out, down. But you're committed for my vote in 2023. People, election is a mere 5 weeks away. Go out, do what you have to do, because these people coming out in a vengeance and they're trying to confuse the minds of the undecided, right? And as I said, the Cambridge Analytica is still alive and well in this country. And it's we, one of the platforms, you, Jenny, Juliet, Rhoda, Nusos, Darian, John and John, Mr. Ruka, Sharon, Google, Mr. Chance, Barataria, all these people, we have to keep the fire blazing behind this nastiness on them. Because if we don't do it, they will try to hoodwink the population into the same rhetoric from 2010 to 2015, 13 years in reverse. Right, guys? So do what you have to do. Election around the corner. We have to do what we have to do. Dominic, good program. Locked on. Be safe.
Thank you, sir. Listen to Vashi.
Well, I don't think we can respond to this.
Yes, sir. Huh? Look at this.
You know,
Get this. Give me 1 second. Right.
lead to problems that they would not other.
Ryan.
I want to raise with you
before you go.
Mm.
Very quickly. Dominic asked me a question some time ago. That if the government raised flour, if I saw it anywhere, I told you no.
Yes.
But Dominic perhaps I was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they did raise flour in June 2022, 22nd of June.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I should say 22nd of June. Because in the raising then, but they're dropping back on the 3rd of July.
Yes.
So, Pushwati is pushing that also up to people, when in truth and in fact, it would have been raised because of issues in 2020, 2022,
Mm-hmm.
because of the grain problem and the war in between Ukraine and Russia. Not so?
Mm-hmm.
But but because of freight issues and so on, it's beginning to drop. And now Nutramix has declared that they're going to reduce the price of flour in Trinidad and Tobago between 10 and 13%.
Yes.
So when Kamala Prasad Bisesa put that lie, as she normally does, as she did, I hear she talking about the reduction in flour. So Nutramix sounds so dumb and dotish to raise flour 2 weeks ago, the price of flour, and then reduce it by 10 and 13% 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
And this is what people of Trinidad and Tobago have to stop listening to, that stupid narrative, the lies that continue. The lies, the unadulterated lying, because he is desperate.
Correct.
Kamala Prasad is desperate to get back into office, and this local government election is the slip to 2025. People have to understand that. So she will begin the lies from now. And I want people to understand that. So she taught him, Gary Griffith along with her. So he now becomes the Totti. And all you have to understand, all you have to do when the time is right and when the time comes, to deal with these two, pimp number one and pimp number two, because the pimping down is so important. You understand? I think what we have to deal with, I will deal with that further this week, coming here. Because that is what is happening to Trinidad and Tobago. These two pimps are pimping people. I tell them, go and vote for them, because them go take care of you. Dominic, Trinidad and Tobago, be wise, be careful. Thank you very much, Dominic.
Thank you, sir. See if I have this thing here. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. Morning, sir.
I'm something on just some quick. You know what I was to ask you about?
Mm-hmm.
Where's fixing TNT with the cook with brother?
What's that?
I said fixing TNT with the cook with. He's still around, man?
I was wondering that very recently.
You understand? But I'm saying he was one man going down there to the beach and saying he's going to do things with them and agriculture and all of that. And I find that fall off the face of the youth probably since just before COVID and so on. But anyhow, you know, the other point that people not watching about the importance of the Just CARICOM Summit, right?
Yes.
Is what our hosting it means in terms of one, how we are viewed by the outside world. Two, the fact that stability in the region, economically and financially, means that when we go to these lending agencies as a block or even individual, we will have more, we will be able to have more negotiating power at the table, individually and collectively. Right? And this is why you find in the conference was also People's Republic of China, the European Union, and so on, right? Because they have a vested interest in what goes on here. Because, make no mistake, the economic relationships established through colonialism, and that remain here, while the summit may seem still somewhat hegemonic, because of leaders like Dr. Rowley, Miss Motley, and so on. People had to take notice, right? And going forward for the curriculum, let's look at the short term. Let's say next 10 years. It is incumbent on us to see that what the initiatives are curriculum, particularly the CMSC and the common external tariff and so on, and the biggest bugbear of all, the interconnectedness in the island spaces between when it comes to the air bridge. If we could sort out these things and put aside this desire for everyone to have a national airline in the way, and if we just come together and get those things worked out right. In addition to the sea lane transport that Dr. Rowley was talking about, which are actively considering in terms of buying more ferries, so we can have the trade up islands. You understand? Not only in a more timely fashion, safe and being able to transport our cars and so on, and being able to do that. All these are things which will forward our school will redound the economic benefit of all of us. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
And these are things that people have to be on board with. When you think about the initiative that Mr. Blinken announced with respect to agriculture, and if we allow that to be expanded first in Guyana, which are the biggest lands and so on, and a lot of arable land, right?
Mm-hmm.
All of that could bring down our eventual food costs, because if we could get Guyana to produce all the rice that the region needs, and then we could do other things like perhaps ground provision, planting and bananas and so on. So offer alternatives. And manufacturers could do anything like manufacturing, planting flour and all these kind of things. Dashing flour, cassava flour. Who that will come along to? It will come along to us. And I think people are beyond board and understand this is what will happen. We have to make our economic space viable for us. Yes, the wider world has an interest in helping us. But if we show them and listen, this is what we are doing for ourselves, we will be more minded to help us achieve it.
Yes.
Because it will mean less pressure on them to give us aid. That's how I see it, Dominic. But I just wanted to give up the local politics for a while, just to give my assessment of the importance of the CARICOM movement and what it means for us.
Thank you.
Yeah, brother.
Thank you. Final call, because I have my class to attend. So, what happened there? See time there, boy? Yeah, because I had to jump out. It's 9 o'clock. And let me just take this quick one, because I have to go to my class. So, hello, good morning.
I'm calling in defense of Kamala Prasad, the assessor on the issue of the floor. She works 5 days. She has a 5-day weekend, and she's always advised. So it's not her fault. It's not her fault that she doesn't know. So everything that comes out of her mouth, she makes a lot of errors because she has been advised. She just don't say it lately. When she was prime minister, and when she's in front of media, which she do not go in front of media. She has a record for it as the official opposition leader of this country. That's 7 years. Kamala Prasad Bisesta, I can't remember Kamala Prasad Bisesta facing the media and taking questions on anything.
Mm-hmm.
So she's been advised when she made the Monday Night Forum comment, and it's not her. So please, Olia, excuse the lady now. Don't beat up on she's so bad. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Right. So as I said, I have to jump out. But I just want to play this before I leave. This is the clip with Urvashi, right, and the Prime Minister of Dominica. As Eric had said, Urvashi is lucky that neither Dr. Rowley nor Mia Motley took the question, because she would have been in a bit of problems. I was hoping Mia would have interjected, but
otherwise have anticipated. Okay, because of the treaty.
Listen to Urvashi, right?
Good evening. Yes, hold on. Yes.
Good
Young
evening.
lady. Go ahead.
Good evening, heads of governments. Urvashi Tiwari Rupnarayan from TV6, Trinidad. I'm staying on the topic of free movement to live and work. Of course, Prime Minister Skerrit, in your opening statement, you did mention possibly more reliance on the regional security system and, of course, the implementation agency for crime and security impacts. But, of course, a few months ago, we know that these two agencies came under very much question, with one judge describing what one judge described as the kidnapping of TNT national Brent Thomas. CARICOM citizens are somewhat still in the dark as to what exactly happened, how these two agencies were activated. Some are alleging unauthorized use of these agencies and alleged abuse of power. Did this fumble at all arise during your discussions? And of course, how can citizens be assured that this may not recur? Thank you.
Well, I don't think we can respond to this. Impacts and all of the security architecture. We believe that we accept and we know that they're operating within the laws of the countries, and they have served us well. And I think where we have to be very careful that we as politicians, whether we're in government or out of government, that we do not make statements that are not factual, and in order to seek to score political points. We have to be very careful that we don't unnecessarily put into question these institutions that are serving us well, especially where our own security within the region is concerned. So I do not subscribe to what you're saying, and therefore I cannot respond to your specific question with the allegations that have been made, where impacts and others are concerned.
Good evening to you.
Yeah, that was Urvashi. Yeah, you see, she came there with her planted question, and as the Prime Minister of Dominica would have mentioned, he has an issue with people, whether you're in, out of governance, trying to make certain insinuations. You realize that was UNC there pushing this. They really feel that the prime ministers of the region aren't concerned with what is taking place in Trinidad and Tobago and what are the topical issues. So clearly they know that was a planted question, and well done to Mr. Skerrit. Yeah, put her in a place and in tongue-in-cheek send a message to Kamala Persad-Bissessar and the UNC as well, right? To come move from here with all your nonsense.
Good evening to you, Prime Minister Skerrit. Prime Minister.
Thank you all so much for joining me this morning. Yes, Monkey knows what treated live biased journalist. Yes, Patty Kutu. She got a verbal slap. Did put her in her place. Thank you guys so much for joining me this morning. I said I had to jump off for my class, but Sunday morning, God's willing, 11 o'clock, we will be back on where we will continue to discuss the issues. Who knows what will happen between now and Sunday. Never a dull moment in Sweet TNT. I saw that the U.S. Secretary of State, Mr. Anthony Blinken, is here, as well as Hakeem Jeffries, who is a Democratic congressman, is here as well. So we have some high-ranking, high-level U.S. diplomats in our country space at the moment, and the Prime Minister is doing the work for which he was elected. So that when Kamala Persad-Bissessar says that he is the laziest Prime Minister, remind her all of the things that he has been doing for the past 8 years and what he has done for the last few days, she never did. And you will not hear Prime Minister Rowley telling his regional counterpart Trinidad and Tobago is not an ATM, right? That kind of insultive language. You're not going to be hearing him saying that kind of thing. So he's promoting regional integration, and he has so many things to do. I saw he met with the principals of CAF, which is one of the major lending agencies again. So the Prime Minister is working. He's working, right? So this is the kind of work that he does. So that if he goes to a panyard, having not eaten or not eaten much for the day, all they say here, Rowley went in the panyard and he drink and get drunk and fall down, and Special Branch had to put him in the car and carry him home. Keith Rowley is not Kamala Persad-Bissessar, all right? But they like to push that nonsense because we know what the track record is with Mrs. Persad-Bissessar and alcohol and the Prime Minister's official vehicle. But we ain't going to talk about that today. That is a talk for another time. Yeah? So the Prime Minister continues his work today. He has meetings with with Secretary of State Blinken, where he will be advancing Trinidad and Tobago's interests. And among the talks would, of course, be the issue of the drug and gas deal and what can be done, what concessions America can make to allow Trinidad and Tobago to be able to monetize that whole arrangement, whether it is they're going to give us an extension of more than the 2 years so that we can now engage Venezuela to make this thing a reality and improve Trinidad and Tobago's financial circumstance. So understand all of the things that are currently in play, right? And what is at risk in 2025. So please tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend. August 14th, we have a date with Destiny. Dip all your finger, ram it in the ink up to your elbow, and if you could go up to your shoulder and your ears, do that too. For me, please, and put your X by the Balize. We don't make the mistake here to say put your X by the rising sun. We don't do that. Yeah? Them other parties, they know what is what. Put the X by the Balize. Pandey says so, Rodney Charles says so, Watson Duke says so. Hey, 10,000 Frenchmen can't be wrong. Folks, enjoy the rest of your day, and we will chat again on Sunday morning. God's willing.